TikTok, it's time to rock. Mammoth is a big thing in the news these days for the music industry and the music world, and this is a mammoth weekend for at least two co-hosts that you see before you, because we do the epic 5150 show on Saturday and the Epicure Blues show with Simon the Rock Professor on Sunday. Epicure? Epicist?
More epic. Yeah, is it Epica?
Epicing?
Man,
I don't know.
A small village in there.
Make me work for my money, Andrew, that's for sure.
I don't know what these words are, but I think you guys get the meaning, and anyone else who's watching the show, yeah, it's when we got the 5150 Rock Professor, it's a big weekend, and especially after the show last night.
Great show last night.
Even more Epicure. Nice to see you in the chat last night too, Simon. Appreciate it. It's always good to see you in the chat. Thank you, brother, for your support on the 5150 show, because are you a mod there? You're a mod, aren't you?
Oh, I'm a mod. Yeah. I'm a mod on
okay.
on in the yes, I am mod. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good. That was just something that came into my mind. I'm sorry. I had something.
I am a mod. Yes.
Yeah. That's good. But nice to see the Rock Professor, who is fit, healthy, and free. Unfortunately, that guy down there is fit, healthy, and locked
Not
up,
free,
barred up.
Yeah.
And it's not because he's an Australian. Or actually, it is because you're an Australian.
See.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think we're getting punished because we're Australians.
Yeah. Well, you're on one part. We're on a now live with it team, because from midnight tonight, you won't have to isolate if you've come into contact with somebody.
Oh wow.
That's after tonight. Isn't
it funny though? Like, you think about the amount of cases that are popping up in the UK, and I'm not going to get political, so we'll drop it after this. The amount of cases that are popping up in the UK, Simon, per day, as opposed to what's in Australia, and we're locked down.
Yeah, no, completely. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That we're in a the position where it's 80% of the people vaccinated. We're into the vaccinated the teenagers, and we are, basically we are learning to live with it. Actually, that's what's happening. Most people are vaccinated. As I say, two of my daughters have had it. My nephew's got it. Well, both mine, one of my nephews, and my nephew and my niece and my sister's kids, they've all had it, all in the process of going for it. They've all been, they've had a virus, basically. They've been quite ill for 3 or 4 days, bit of a headache, sore throat, temperature, not feeling great. And then gradually they start feeling better. And the weird one is having no taste and no smell.
Cool. It's good to see that these progress anyway. So who we got in the chat, Rock Professor?
I was just looking at the numbers. So we have good morning people in the chat. We have Charles75N. Good morning, Charles. Morning, Derek Clacton. Supporter, Derek Clacton. Thanks, Derek. And Teresa Maria de Souza. Good morning, Teresa. Jazz Thunder 50. Great name, Jazz. And we have Mark Tanner. Morning, Mark. And Ellen Borisheim. Morning, Ellen.
Ellen, thank you.
John ZD351. It's ZD351. None of this Z nonsense. I noticed there's a lot of Z going on yesterday. I'm not having any of that. Texas Jackdaw. Good morning, Texas. Hope you're good over there. Mark EFX. God, reading small letters. Morning, Mark. I don't recognise your name, so welcome to the show. Brian Spawning. Morning, Brian. Nelson, of course. Mr. Rodriguez. Good morning, Nelson. Hope we're good. I think that's what we've got. We've got 18 people, which is fantastic. So morning all.
It's good to see everyone.
those who have commented, and Michael as well. Michael also. Good morning, Michael. Who's awake in New York at 2:30
Oh, hey,
a.m.
Michael. Awesome,
Hey, Michael.
Good to see you.
I got your message in the Instagram, and I couldn't respond because we were just about to go live.
Yeah,
I know.
We're going to show your
awake?
video too. Your unboxing video too on the channel later on, if that's okay, Michael.
And we've got Arvin as well. Arvin, good morning, Arvin. I think that's probably everybody for a minute. So, morning all. Thanks for coming, joining.
Actually, we might play it now while he's here. Hold on, guys. I'll see if I can find it.
While he's awake. Yeah.
Good to see everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining us. Andrew's going to be showing Michael's little unboxing.
Yeah.
So, we can just sit tight. It's this wonderful T-shirt.
Brad, spoiler alert.
I didn't think of that.
A bit of fun. Could be something else.
But everyone knows. Everyone that follows
knows. Well, there we are. Bit of a crew T-shirt. Awesome.
We do like to share these things with everyone in the chat, and everyone that's part of it. So we're all family.
That's good. That's good fun. Well, I hope it's fun anyway. Hope you like them.
No, I'm sporting mine now, man. Sporting mine.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well done.
Right, I've got it, guys. I've got it. I'll just go over here.
Wrong one. Wrong way.
Go over here. Share video. Where are we? Hold on, guys. Share screen. Share screen. Share audio.
I love how Andrew technical is going to run us through it.
Oh.
And share. Is that on the screen, guys? Can you see that? Cool.
Yeah, we can.
This new shirt I got from England, from the British Electric Blues Show, which is a podcast on YouTube that I was featured on a couple of times, talking about Eric Clapton's 24 Nights album, talking about the Cream 2005 reunion show, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. So they sent me a shirt from Winscombe, England, which is 3 hours outside of London. So Simon Williams sent me a parcel. That took a month to get here by carrier pigeon. And it says here, 10 out of 10, never a skip, which is what the main host says. So a lot of times they'll review an album, and they've had me on the show to talk about Eric Clapton's 24 Nights and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon and the Cream 2005 reunion show. And we go track by track, and we talk about any historical facts and then our opinion of the song, and maybe even demonstrate the song. And I've demonstrated a lot of the tracks on 24 Nights, a couple of the tracks on Dark Side of the Moon. Obviously, I wasn't singing Great Gig in the Sky. That would be a sight, but it's a great show. And you get all these different perspectives from people all over the world, and people are commenting in real time on YouTube and Facebook, and we're seeing those comments and responding to them as best as we can. It's just a fun community, and everyone's comments are encouraged, and everyone's family there. I have to give a shout out to Andrew Walton, Brad Cook, Simon Williams, Kurt, and they've had so many great guests, and they've given me a stage to talk about Eric Clapton and 24 Nights and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. And this is all available on their YouTube. If you search the British Electric Blues Show, then you'll find all those videos. Hey, Jared. Hey, Gimsori. Hey, Josh Schwartz. Hey, Hayden. Hey, Nancy. Hey, Brooks. Hey, Jake. Timotito. I think that's everyone so far. Hey, guys. The British Electric Blues Show is 10 out of 10, never a skip. And I'm pronouncing that like Andrew Walton. Never a skip.
Nice. Cool.
Thank you, Michael.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Always appreciate the shout outs. And obviously, hopefully we'll get into a situation, guys, where our channel will be able to give you guys What's happened there?
What?
Sorry. So I had some echo on the background there because the video was still playing. So no, thank you for the shout out. Always nice to get some shares, and hopefully our channel will be able to do some shout outs. We'll always do shout outs, won't we? We'll always do shout outs, don't we, guys?
Talking to shout outs, I'd like to say good morning to Gussie Wells. We've not seen for ages. Good morning, Gussie. Hope you're good. Nice to see you. That's very cool.
Well, I'm going to do my unboxing, guys, before we catch much.
Unboxing.
Before we get a little bit, what's the word? Laterist?
Laterist.
Laterine?
Laterist.
Laterer. I wonder what's in here. I got no idea what's in here, ladies and gentlemen. It's bubble wrapped. So, oh my gosh. Oh, it's a pedal. It's some picks. It's some guitar strings.
It's a whole guitar in bits. You have to put it together.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Simon. You're a champion.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
It arrived safe and sound.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Simon.
Yes. Fantastic. Look at that. Brilliant.
Wonderful.
Good.
Thank you very much. I'm going to do a Brad. I'm going to do a Brad soon and whip that baby on.
Simon, have you got yours handy? You're gonna have to go put it on, mate.
Hold on a second. Oh, I can't find it.
Go and whip it on. While he's whipping it on, I'm just going to do a quick shout out to a couple of cats that have joined the chat. Nelson, Mark Tanner, Michael. Thank you for that nice video. We love it. Thank you. You're part of the family. You're part of the family, brother. So we look forward to the Robert Johnson, Eric Clapton record when we finally fit that in, Brad? That's going to be another epic show.
Yep. Sure, we'll have to find a suitable time with the time differences. That's probably our biggest challenge, isn't it, Andrew? The time differences with everyone.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's a bugger, but jeepers, sometimes. Yeah. Well, you're right. It is a bugger. Here he is. Has he got it?
It's in the wash.
He wore it yesterday when he went to the supermarket. Good to see.
Well, at least he's advertising it. We know you're
wandering about. What the hell is he doing?
We know you're advertising it, so that's good.
Yeah. No, it's in a wash. I did wear it the other day. Yes.
I can't go anywhere at the moment, so I can just wear it around the house. I'm advertising around the
house. Well, yeah, to all the hundreds of people who are turning up at your house, Brad.
Mitch Harmon's here. Got Mitch Harmon in the chat.
Good morning, Mitch.
Happy birthday, Mitch.
Is it his birthday? Wow, happy birthday, Mitch. Is it your birthday?
When was this? No, it was a couple of weeks ago or something like that. I'm sure, like I think he just turned 50 or something like that.
50. I remember that.
Wow. What's today's topic, Andrew?
Riding with the King. Okay, so guys, this is an interesting album, and I look forward to obviously hearing what my co-hosts and what everyone in the chat thinks about this album, because I'm all over the place with this album, but I won't say too much. I'm going to go first. The Rock Professor is going to offer a bit of when I've finished, a little bit of an introduction. He's going to fill in the BB King part, which is required, I suppose. You all know who BB King is. I'll go first with the Rock Professor, and then Brad is going to do a conclusion with his analysis and his rankings. So Eric Clapton and BB King have been pussyfooting around for years about doing this album. A collaboration is the word. Since they first jammed together in New York back at the Cafe Go-Go, I think Simon and Brad, back in 1967. So when this album came out in 2000, 1967 was still a long time between drinks, as they say. So over the next 30 years, they often played together, which is well known. Clapton loved playing with a lot of these old guys, didn't he? He made a point of it, and was pushing their agenda, keeping them responsible and involved in the evolution of blues music as it went through the 80s to the 90s and to the new millennium. So that's one of the reasons why I think Clapton, especially on this show, gets a little bit of a nudge, doesn't he? Because of that role that he's played.
Yeah.
The challenge that they had of getting two independently well-known artists together on one album obviously is a good way of generating interest for the other artist, and it certainly worked well for B.B. King. Clapton, well-known musician, well-known figure. B.B. King, certainly well-known. A lot of cats like us knew and know who B.B. King was at the time, but I remember at the time there were a few guys I was hanging out with that weren't very familiar with B.B. King, so it sort of drew them in a little bit. Again, another plus for this album. Great thing, it gets these young cats, these young girls who may not have heard of authentic blues music, a taste for it. And we certainly get bits and pieces of that on this album, in my opinion. It was Clapton, obviously, who found a window in his schedule, and he approached B.B. King about doing this album. He had some time off from the road, and they recorded this in January and February 2000. And there's a few B.B. King tunes on here. And obviously one of the key elements to this album too, guys, and I know that probably Brad might mention him, is Doyle Bramhall. Yeah. Big influence on this album. Doesn't get a lot of attention, but when I went back and listened to this, you can hear him. He's doing. Yeah, you can hear the three guitars going on, which is really, really interesting. It's a great contrast. So, riding with the King, you've got Eric in the front seat, you've got BB in the back, and Doyle's in the boot, isn't he? Unfortunately, the poor bugger. But at least he's going along for the ride. He's on the ride.
Where's Andy Fairweather Lowe?
I think he's in there.
Number 4. Is he in the boot as well, or is he in the trailer?
Yeah. No, he's in the trailer. He's in the trailer. So the high points of this album are definitely the guitar exchanges between these two giants, between Clapton and B.B. King, who spend no time at all in shredding, in their way. So
I was going to say,
that's my introduction.
B.B. King and shredding doesn't sound like something that goes together. That is an oxymoron. Shredding
in their way. Shredding in their way, Simon.
Slow shredding.
So I became aware of this album, obviously, about 2 or 3 weeks before it dropped. Really excited about it. Really, really, I was heavily deep into a Clapton phase back then in 2000. So having this album, or even hearing about this album, was huge. And I know that Michael would love this. Clapton's looking pretty cool on any of the photos around this album. Looks cool, He's got that Clapton thing going. But I was certainly surprised with this album when it came out. Simon, so if you want to fill in some of the gaps that I've left for you and tell us a little bit of the album, then we'll get the Rock Professor. Then we'll get Brad Flame Fingers to give us a bit of his background on the album.
Yeah, he was practicing his B.B. King before we went on. Frankly, it was terrible. It was the worst impression of B.B. King I've ever heard.
Thanks, Simon.
Well, mainly because it wasn't B.B. King at all.
I was trying.
I just thought I'd be rude about it, It's fun. But anyway, so B.B. King, just a bit of background on B.B. King for those. I know a little bit, but so he was born in September 1925, a long time ago, back in the cotton plantation days. near the town of Itta-Bena. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. In Mississippi, the son of sharecroppers. So, like many black people then, son of sharecroppers, and went to work in the fields picking cotton when he was a kid. He also sang. I think this is really in common with lots of musicians. Sang in a gospel choir, and attracted the Pentecostal Church of God in Christ, because that's why he went, because of its music. And the minister there taught him his first 3 chords, which is very cool. So he got a guitar at about 12, and it was he either bought it for $15 or it was given to him by Booker White, famous blues artist Booker White, who was his mother's first cousin. So he obviously learnt a few things, and then in November 41, King Biscuit Time, which I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but it's a famous kind of radio station show that they broadcast in the 40s and 50s, doing shows. So Sonny Boy Williamson used to do quite a lot of shows on there. But yeah, it was famous across the Delta blues for broadcasting blues stuff, and so he then worked as a tractor driver and still singing in churches and things. And then he performed in 48. He actually got on Sonny Boy Williams' radio program and began to develop an audience really via the radio show, turning up 10-minute spots on a Memphis radio and things, but playing live, clearly nobody. And so into the 40s and 50s, King was part of the blues scene on Beale Street, and he performed with Bobby Bland, Johnny Ace, Earl Forrest, known as the Beale Streeters. And then into the 40s, he began recording in Los Angeles, a company called RPM Records. Many of his early recordings were recorded by Sam Phillips, the man from Sun Records, of course. So and then he assembled his own band, the BB King Review, where he had horns and piano, bass, drums, sax, baritone, tenor sax, alto sax, and trumpet. So he had a proper horn section, which is what he did with when he recorded Live at the Regal. That's basically that band recording live at the Regal, and he started on his on his trips round America, famously doing more than 300 gigs a year out there doing it. And so he went through the 50s.
Interesting how they couldn't record it during BB King's gap. It had to be during Clapton's gap, isn't it?
Well, that's what somebody made that point, didn't they? Was it somebody in the chat made that point?
Alexander did.
Yeah, it was a really good point there about BB King's playing 300. I don't know if by when's this album? 2000. Oh, you're still doing 200 gigs a year. Yes. Whose schedule was more crowded?
So the thing is though, BB King was. But yeah, to be fair though, BB, if you watch this documentary, that did a lot of bus tours touring around the States, whereas Clapton back then was doing a lot of international gigs. So from that perspective, I kind of get it.
Yeah. Oh, you mean I had to put in time for flying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, by his own admission, as Texas Jackdaw says there, he famously said, I can't sing and play at the same time, and I don't know any chords. And yet, one note, you just know it's BB King. So that's yes. I don't know whether that's really true. I'm sure it's not really true, but it's a good. It's a great story. I can't sing and play at the same time.
I know.
I don't know any.
No, he says it.
He does. Does he say? Yeah.
It's in Rattle and Hum.
Is it Rattle and Hum?
He goes,
yeah.
He goes up to the edge and he goes, I don't know chords or anything like that. I just play like this. I just play.
I just go. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Do you want any more? Yeah. How much more do you want? Lovely. Yeah. So in the 50s, he was, doing tours, releasing albums, and amassing hits. I love you. Woke up this morning. Please love me. When my heart beats like a hammer. Welcome to Whole Lot of Love. There you are. You upset me, baby. Every day I have the blues. So building up a repertoire of blues standards and through into the 60s, and clearly in November 64 he recorded the famous Live at the Regal album, which, if you haven't heard it, is an absolute classic of blues with the horn section. Fantastic. And in the late 60s, he had a new manager called Sid Seidenberg, who pushed BB into different kinds of venues as rock blues performers like Clapton and Paul Butterfield. And I guess that's where he met Clapton in the late 60s, being pushed into those and clearly gaining a visibility among rock audiences as an opening act on the Rolling Stones 69 tour, American tour. Continued making records through the 70s. The Thrill Is Gone stuff. And I don't know if you know those records with the Crusaders, Joe Sample, and lovely records, really good stuff. And from the 80s until his death, he in 2015 maintained high visibility and doing 300 shows a year, rolling around the country. That's pretty mainly in America, but yeah. So that's BB King in a small nutshell. But go away and look him up. His life is much more interesting than that. I've just skimmed over the top of where he came from and what he did. But clearly a man who had a career from the late 40s on 50s onwards. 60 career is an amazing musician. And worthy of delving into. I don't know if you've got any books you could recommend about him. You've got anything to recommend about him?
There's a couple of biographies, a couple of documentaries. Life of Riley. Check out Life of Riley, and there's another one that comes to my mind. But go and check those out. Pretty good. We love documentaries here, don't we, guys? Documentaries are great. Yeah. They give just because we're visual. We're visual, Simon.
We're visual. Yeah, it's all about the pictures. We like pictures. Yeah. That's what it means. We like pictures, man.
Brad, when did you first hear this album? Did you anticipate it? Were you a Clapton nut back then in 2000? I think you were.
Yeah, I was a Clapton nut, and when it came out, I got it pretty much straight away, and I loved it, and I still love it. Like, listening to it this week's been really, really quite good because I haven't heard it for a while. It's been I don't know, a year, two maybe that I've given it a spin, and it's really refreshing. And I'm a Doyle Bramall II fan as well, so the couple of songs that were from his albums that were on this, and I like the versions of them as well. And I really enjoyed this album. I love hearing it. It's like I don't want to sort of give too much away about my song rankings and that, but what I wanted to bring up is there's a mutual respect for each other. You can hear it, but you can hear Clapton actually is letting BB King be BB King, not trying to take that shine off him. Is very respectful.
Good point. That's a very, very good point. And we were having a chat earlier today, I think, the rock professor, Brad, and I, in one of our group chats where I said I'd love to do that Winwood Clapton album, because one of the great things about these artists that Clapton and that Winwood DVD and album gives, and this album gives, have you guys noticed that you can distinctly hear the different personalities come through in the music? No one's hogging the spotlight, and it's great when you get examples of that. Simon, what do you reckon? Do you think this is a good example of sharing that light?
I absolutely think it's a great example of sharing that light. Yeah. And I think that it's, one of the things that it does is it kind of as you said, it kind of reintroduces, maybe a younger audience to BB King and the blues and things, So I think there's a shrewd kind of, business move in that as well about re-energizing your career and reintroducing yourself to new, younger audiences and things. So I think that's
Awesome. Okay, guys. So the first track's Riding with the King. So just got a couple of little notes here that I want to share with you guys before I toss it over to the Rock Professor and Brad. So the title song was written by John Hyatt for his 83 Riding with the King album. And obviously it's an apt title, isn't it? Riding with the King. The cover of the album says it all, BB King, Riding with the King. If you didn't get it, guys... Okay, that's me trying to be silly and funny. Okay, right. But the song is probably more familiar to Clapton than BB King, I'm sure. I would be surprised maybe if BB had heard it, but certainly we know that Clapton would have, because he was hanging out with these guys. So Clapton would have just grabbed that song. BB King, riding with the, you can just see it now. You can see some light bulbs going off, and this is what we're going to do. This is going to be the opening track. I'm just trying to read my notes here, guys. Just bear with me. So Rocky, what's really interesting about this song for me is that it's a rocking song, and Clapton is at home, obviously, with this type of music. And one of the great things about this song is that BB just slides in there and he's not away from it. He's actually part of it. It sets the tone for the album. It's a great song. You can hear BB King. He's not buried. I think Michael's made one of the comments that I was going to make earlier, but I'm going to throw it in here now. The vocals, it's fantastic. It's just a great mix. I'm sure you guys are going to be able to tell us who's responsible for that. I'm going to give the song 9 out of 10, and it's a great opener. Simon.
Yeah, great. Yeah, John Hyatt. I don't know if people know. You should check him out. He's a really fine songwriter. It's a lovely song called "Adios to California," which is a great song. Particularly, I know it particularly. But clearly written originally about Elvis Presley, not about, but beautifully redone by Eric, clearly who knew the song, taken over and thought that'll do as our opening record. So, as you say, it's got that rock thing about it, doesn't it? Overlaying the blues thing as well. It's just a great song, I think. Great opener. Lots of power, lots of setting out the template of what's to come. I think me. I'm keen on these how you set up albums and opening tracks and things. So great song. Again, a 9 out of 10 from me, and never a skip. I think that the way they set it up is great. 2 voices on parts of the lines, got backing singers. Both play solos, and And then BB King doing his kind of that kind of manifesto thing at the end, doesn't he? That spoken part at the end where he says, "I'm going to play this thing till the day I die." And if that's not a sort of a manifesto for BB King, I don't know what is. But,
and he did do that. He did.
Yeah, he did play to the absolutely. Yes. That's what I'm saying. So 9 out of 10 for me, never a skip. A great opening.
Well, for me, it's I remember getting this album and looking at the album cover for forever. Like, I was listening to the album, looking at the album cover, looking at the pictures, looking at the whole thing was just like an experience for me because I loved BB King. Out of all the Kings, BB's one of my favorites. Freddie, Albert. But BB's always got that sweet, soulful sort of thing going on, and I love his versions of Sweet 16 and Thrill Is Gone and songs like that. Like, they were just amazing to me. And then when this album came out, I was like really taken in that Clapton had done this with him. And I thought, I know they played a lot together, but it made it pretty clear that Clapton wanted to highlight these musicians because he did an album with Buddy Guy as well. And it's something that's like the full circle thing for Clapton, a bit of respect to the people that, you know, he was playing their music and it got him success. So it kind of brought them to the forefront again in his way. That's what he did. And I think that was wonderful. I'll get back to the song. I mean, it's a great album opener. The great clear guitar tone. It's like clear. There's clarity. There's bell-like tones. There's, you know, you can distinctively hear Clapton's guitar. You can distinctively hear BB's. And I'll be honest with you, I can hear the other two guitars underneath. I can hear Doyle Bramwell. I can tell what he's playing. It's in there. If you're really listening, it's great. There's some very magical moments in this song. There's goosebump material in it for me. I cranked this earlier today just to make my final and you know, the band, they were cooking. I mean, there's ballsy tones. The band were cooking. Definitely, you know, Nathan East and Steve Gadd, they're so tight and snappy together. And I know this album might have copped a bit of flack being a little bit too polished of a blues album, but for me, it's not. This is what I like in a blues record. And, you know, for me, I think this was one of the highlights of the actual record. I remember the first time I put myself back into that space, the first time I heard the song, and I was blown away. So I've given it a 10 out of 10. It's never a skip for me.
And it has to be said, doesn't it? It has to be said, doesn't it? B.B. King's been making smooth records since the, you know, I mean, that's what he does, you know, and those 70s records, you know, that I mentioned earlier. They're pretty smooth. The work he makes with the Crusaders are pretty smooth, you know, jazz blues records. Great, you know. Yes, that's what he does.
Hey,
Michael Shaney Music.
Joining us.
Good morning, Mike. Welcome.
And Charles. And Texas, if you're still here, good night, brother. Thank you for hanging out with us. Always love seeing you in the chat.
And
look,
bro,
I was going to give this a...
Sorry, what was that, Andrew?
I was going to give this song a 10 out of 10, but I thought, you know, I'll try and be a little bit more. I don't know what the word is. I'm not very good with words today. I don't know. But I'm happy with giving it a 9, but it's never a skip. I think the reason why I gave it a 9 is because of the next song, 10 Long Years. So that's a B.B. King song, guys. And it's a faithful reproduction. Is that the word? Reproduction?
Yeah.
Reproduction? Faithful reproduction, remake of the King composition that he's been clearly playing, had been clearly playing for years. And it gives, obviously, both guitarists an opportunity to shine. Great playing on this song. It's outstanding. It's one of the best versions of this song. Not the definitive version, but certainly up there in my opinion, guys. And because they kept it faithful, and because of the spoken manifesto that my co-hosts had alluded to earlier in the first song, I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10 because it just makes sense for me. Simon.
Yeah, I don't. You can answer this question. There's a sort of pride and joy thing in the lyrics, isn't it? Is that some reference to Stevie Ray Vaughan, or did it come before Stevie Ray Vaughan, and therefore he took? It is a reference to him, is it? Oh, it's the other way around. He used it as a reference. No, okay, fine. Yeah, that's right. I didn't know which way around it was, but that's pretty cool. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, as you say, the verses are quite. It's because of using his sort of hoarse, sort of, you know, that quite sort of forced, shouty vocal style, to put it on. But it's which is interesting, you know, putting some bit of passion into it and a bit of welly into it. It's as you said, Brad, that, you know, the band on this record are great. I mean, Nathan East and Steve, they're fantastic. You know, they are brilliant musicians, and they know how to play, don't they?
Yeah,
they absolutely. Steve Gadd is like the man. You know, if you want a drummer, the person you get is Steve Gadd. You know, he's played all those great records. He played on Paul Simon records, and he is them, and I know Eric's used him a lot, hasn't he, Steve Gadd? So and that as a rhythm section, you're not going wrong with that, are you? And they are fantastic. So I think it's really well arranged as well. I think it's fantastically arranged, and so they clearly have put some thought into what they're going to do for each song, horns and backing vocals and things. So it's and how they're going to share out the solos. There's one of each on this one. One from do you know on a couple of these songs, I should listen. I think maybe one of the longer ones we get to, and then Eric starts doing BB King, and then I can't work out who's who. Which is really funny. It's like, Eric, can you start playing like Eric and stop aping BB King so I can work out which is which? It's really hard work, this. But this is a 9 out of 10 for me. It's a great song. It's got that great sort of swinging, medium pace blues. Plenty of smoky vocals. That's I think I might come back to the word smoky. This might be the word of the album. So 9 out of 10 for me, never a skip. Yeah, great song.
Awesome. Well, for me, 10 long years. I mean, the good thing, Simon, for me is I can distinctively hear Clapton on the left side, BB on the right. That's the only. Sometimes it helps you get that clarity. For me, that was. I kind of sometimes thought the same thing. Occasionally, he's sort of channeling BB a little bit, but Clapton plays like himself. There's just there's no two ways about that. Yeah. On this song in particular, BB's really singing the blues here. You can hear in his voice, it's breaking up. And I love that. It's not perfect. He's just singing till his voice is pretty much breaking up. It's amazing. And you've seen BB perform. He stands back from the mic. Like he's not like a conventional singer. His mic technique is like, instead of being up front, it's miles back from the mic. So when he sings those big voice bits, he's coming right back. And normally what happens is when you pull yourself away from a mic in a recording technique, you actually lose a bit of the body, but you don't, because his voice is so big. And I love that. And, I love Clapton's solo in this one is great. The speakers come to life, though, when BB starts soloing. It's really, truly special. And he's telling a story in his solo. That's when he's playing his solo. It's just like he's telling a story. It's and obviously back to the band. I mean, that sludgy rhythm they're playing, that sludgy blues rhythm is just phenomenal. I love it, and it's a 10 out of 10. Never a skip from me.
Have you had? I put this on, and then I get out my guitar and start playing along. I was just bloody hopeless for critical appraisal, for the exercise of self-discipline. Put the guitar down, concentrate.
you do actually want to play along. Yes, I know what you're saying. You feel like picking up the guitar and playing.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
All right, guys. So thank you for that, Rock Professor and Brad. That's as usual. You guys always fill in the gaps. That's what you guys are here for. Gap fillers. Gap fillers.
Different perspectives. I like to call it different perspectives.
Bookends. Bookends. The third song. Well, clearly, if you're a Clapton fan, it should be no surprise to you. This song, it's one of the standout highlights of the Layla album. This album here, which the Rock Professor and Brad and I have done 2 shows on last year. Check that out, guys. One of the highlights of that album, and this song here is one of the highlights of this album for me. Clapton had been playing this song, Jeepers, pretty much, Simon, I think, right through his career. Certainly it's definitely a favourite song.
It's a staple,
for Clapton.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's certainly a song. It's a song I think that means more to Clapton than it does to the audience. Like Cocaine, for example, was a song that Clapton has to play for the audience. But I think Key to the Highway for me, is a song that Clapton plays for himself. And from the little bit of research that I've done, guys, apparently B.B. King wasn't too happy about doing an acoustic song, because what's really interesting is that one of the Kings was an electric player. He felt more comfortable with his guitar, with Lucille, and picking through that. So they had a bit of a laugh about it, and to BB's credit, he said, "Oh, damn it, let's have a hamburger." And get in there and did a wonderful version. One of the standout performances on the track for me, guys. And I'm going to Brad score this. I just love the song. I love the song. Love all versions of it. Love it. It's a Brad score. My first Brad score, 20 out of 10. Never escape.
Yeah. So I did one of my questions was that I take it that he's not playing the acoustic. He's not playing guitar on this B.B. King. He's not playing. I don't ever remember him thinking. I've never remember him being an acoustic player.
He's playing that. He's playing.
He played a bit. Was he not? I didn't think he was playing on it.
Well, from the research. The research that I've got, and let me just give you the quote then. Eric suggested that we do an unplugged thing. I wasn't too happy about it at first, and then he laughs. But when we sat down and started to do it, I was tickled to death. I enjoyed it very much, so that was a change. And once we got into it, it was really fun because I hadn't done it in years.
Yeah, well, I thought it was him. Rock Professor's gone. Yeah, I'm pretty sure when I'm listening to the style of playing, it definitely sounds like BB to me.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I got hoofed off summarily by the internet. No, so we think he is playing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's okay. I wasn't sure. And as I say, I don't associate B.B. King with an acoustic guitar at all. And I was like, I don't know. So I thought I'd ask.
I put it in my notes that same thing. I was sure, Anyway.
Yeah. No. But I agree with Andrew. And this is an absolute classic. And I think that thing, I've got the keys to the highway, build out and bound to go. I'm going to leave here running, people, because walking's much too slow. That is Clapton, isn't it? I mean, that must ring true with him as an opening, a fantastic opening phrase. But I get that feeling that that's been Eric's life in many ways, and it speaks to him. So I agree, Andrew. It's been that line through his entire career, and he's done it all the time. This is a great version as acoustic guitars, with a bit of organ and drums and bass, doing the brushes bit, not to think Nathan Easton, Steve Gadd laying it down as ever, and nice call and response bit with BB in the in the later verses where he kind of sings behind, doesn't he, as something.
Yeah.
Nice. Again, 20 out of 10 for me. I think there's a familiarity to it that. Clearly Clapton loves this song, and I do too. So it's a Brad score, 20 out of 10 from me as well. Never a skip.
Well, for me, Key to the Highway, I always associate this with Clapton. It's one of his, as we've already discussed, it's one of his signature songs, and I was really glad the first time to hear it on the record. Clapton's voice sounds amazing on this, and I've always thought he's so comfortable singing this song.
Yep.
And B.B. King's voice just complements him as well. They kind of one thing that I will mention, on every single song, they complement each other vocally. They're not trying to outdo each other. There's a mutual respect there, I think. As much as Clapton's probably in awe of playing with someone who was one of his heroes, B.B. King's got a lot of mutual respect for Clapton as well, and that comes across the way that they deliver the vocal, I think, and they're playing. That swampy blues feel with the brushes on the drums from Gadd is fantastic. I think it's great to hear B.B. King playing acoustic. I've written that here. I mean, for me, I listened to it and I was like really focused on the guitar playing in every song especially when I was doing the rankings. And it was refreshing because you never hear BB King playing an acoustic. So I will note I love the organ playing in this as well. I gave it a 10 out of 10. It's never a skip for me. It's never a skip. Fantastic, love it.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we're on par, guys, because I think this is one of the great things about a blues album. So this is a classic blues album now, isn't it? Because it's 21 years old, but at the time, it wasn't a classic blues album. At the beginning of the millennium, just really interesting, and I'm glad that we both, the both of you guys, realise the importance of the interpreting of classic blues songs again for a new audience, but still remaining faithful. It's a gift, isn't it? Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got the dog pa here. The dog pa.
Dog pa. Morning, the dog pa.
What does the dog pa say when he jumps in?
Woof. 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 Yeah, that was a much better woof than mine, yeah.
I ain't a dog. I ain't no dog. I ain't gonna woof no. There's only one dog on this show.
That's Pepper.
Yeah.
I was making the reference to you, actually.
Maybe.
Dog.
Oh, geez, thank you.
In other ways. Anyway, sorry.
In other ways. Anyway, let's stop that. Okay. Stop that.
All right.
Smutty.
Moving on.
Right. Okay. All right.
We need to keep him under control, don't we, Brad? Mr. Potty Mouth.
Yeah, we saved you guys in the chat. He was potty mouth before we jumped in. We said, "Hey, pull it up.
Get out of your system. Get out of your system now."
I'm going to pinch a line from the Rock Professor. So, last song of side one. So that that's something that we like to remind you people that probably haven't tossed some vinyl on a turntable for a while. So it's something that we like to remind each other about, that you've actually got to get up. You've got to put that bottle of scotch down. You've got to put that bong down. You've got to go up. You got to go and put that squeeze away or whatever you're doing.
Describing your own life? Certainly not mine.
Oh, well, it's we're just painting pictures here. We're just bluesmen painting pictures. I'm going to get myself into trouble. Into trouble on this one, I think. So, Marry You. It's a great funky rock tune, that sounds, like the whole studio's having fun, guys. It's a rave. It's a great opportunity, I think, for the cats to sort of stretch out a little bit. Maybe, get that party vibe going on. It sounds, obviously this is more towards Eric's territory, isn't it? Which is definitely, an important thing, because it's that balance, that sharing of the different contrasts that the Rock Professor likes to remind us about. Music is about contrasts, especially when there's duos going. It's a catchy number. And the solo was great. I love the solo in it. You know what? And I think this should have been a single. I think this should have been the song single. And because of that, I'm going to give it a Brad score of 20 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 20 out of 10. And I'm going to pass it on to the Rock Professor for his analysis.
Yeah. Well, I did. The first thing came to mind, I agree. It's got that funky element to it, isn't it? First of all, the song with the funky element kind of got that shades of kind of, and it's got keyboards in it to remind me of Stevie Wonder for some reason. For that.
See you, Michael.
Else, but cheers, Michael. Good
Splitting.
night. Sleep well. 3 o'clock in the morning in New York.
Thanks for hanging out with us, Mike.
Yeah, take care, mate. So that reminded me a bit of Stevie Wonder. It's got some kind of that sort of Stevie Wonder kind of keyboards to it. and stuff. And also wah-wah guitar as well. It's got the wah-wah guitar, which is really cool with the acoustic. And I like the fact that Clapton sings 2 lines, BB King sings 2 lines, and they go back and forth, and then they kind of sing with the backing singers for the chorus, and they do that all the way through. So it's definitely kind of that collaboration. You know, I'll sing the first 2 lines, you sing the next 2 lines, and great solos as well from them both. This is where I get confused. I think it's BB King solos first and then Clapton does it second, but you can tell me I'm wrong, but it's fine. So, yeah, 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Great song. Really love the funky vibe to it. And as again, different, you know, these things are about, you know, as you've just said, Andrew, that, you know, it's a complete contrast to what's come before. And I think, you know, that if you're going to follow, you know, Keys to the Highway, you better follow it in a different way than Keys to the Highway, you know. And I think this does this really well. That you know, having that kind of funky beat is really cool. Brad,
cool.
Well, for me, this one, I absolutely love this track. It's co-written by 2 of my favorite guitar players, Doyle Bramall and Craig Ross from Lenny Kravitz's band, along with a female American vocalist who was involved with Prince. So Susanna Melvoin.
I knew you'd know that. I knew you'd know that.
So for me, I can hear, and I have to agree with you. I think it was you, Andrew, that said it's leaning more to a Clapton song than a BB King. And for me, it definitely 100%. I love the track. Great wah tone. BB King's licks, they make the song come to life for me. The smooth vocal from Clapton, he's been Mr. Smooth. Clapton, he can be Mr. Gruff, bluesy vibe, but he's really smooth in this one. And BB King sings amazing through this. He's really given it some. I need to highlight, you know, Nathan East, and again on this track, no one plays bass like Nathan. You know, that Steve Gadd's like a steam train in this as well. They're just relentless. Some of those bass lines during the chorus, you know, where he's popping the bass and stuff, it's just phenomenal. If there's one bass player I want to be able to play like, it would be Nathan East, because he's one of those guys that's just phenomenal. You know, he's phenomenal.
Yeah. And we spoke about him on the 24 Nights show, didn't we, guys? And he's just he's underrated, isn't he?
Well, look,
I don't know about that. I think
just about every sensational artist out there is basically always the hired gun. Everyone wants Nathan East on their records and playing live when they can, but he's been with Clapton for so long. It's pretty much that's his right hand man on bass most of the time. But look, you can really hear Doyle Bramall singing the BVs in this as well. You can really hear his voice. If you're a fan of Doyle, you'll know his voice. You'll hear it. For me, that's a highlight. Clapton's solo in this is sensational. He's digging really deep. Also, I have to say, and I'll wrap it up, is imagine if they didn't fade this out. This song fades out at the end. Imagine if they didn't fade it out. I reckon they would have jammed for another 20 minutes on that groove. It would have been sensational. And
easily.
I have to give it my first Brad score, 20 out of 10. This one for me was one that I remember when the record came out, I would spin this song 3, 4, 5 more times after I listened to the album, just because I love it.
Yeah, we did the same thing too. I loved it too. I think it was just certainly one of the highlights. When I reflect, Simon and Brad, on my first couple of listens, you know how instinctively there's some tracks that just jump out, and there's other tracks which take sometimes years for you to work out or appreciate. But this is certainly one. Good research by my co-hosts. Aren't they great? Aren't these guys great? I knew one of them would talk about Ross. I knew. We've done a show on. Yeah. We've done a show on. Who was it?
Lenny Kravitz.
Who's the guy he hangs out with?
Lenny Kravitz.
That's the guy. Yeah. Yeah. No, that was great. Okay, guys. So we're on to the next song. The next song's 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock blues. Get it right, Andrew. So we've got a remake of BB King, which incidentally, I didn't realize this was BB's first national hit. So clearly a song that means, or should mean, at the time, something to BB King. And I couldn't work out whether it was a song that BB wanted to say himself that he wanted included, but nevertheless, it's been included for good reason. It starts off with Eric singing some slow blues, and then you've got BB joining him. And you've got some exceptional vocals. I know my co-hosts have made comments already about their vocals, but in my notes, this is where I've specifically pointed out the vocals. I love the vocals on this song. Just a fantastic job. And the two guitar solos are absolute killers. One of the standout guitar solos on the album for me. And I just have to give this a 10 out of 10, guys. And it's never a skip, Simon.
No. Just to point out, you're right. It was 3 O'Clock Blues was his first Billboard Rhythm and Blues #1, which is why it's so special to him. I think BB King's. So that's why clearly Clapton has Keys to the Highway, and it's clear 3 O'Clock Blues is clearly one of BB King's historic songs as well. Yeah, I mean, for me, this is one of the first kind of real centerpiece of this album. 8 minutes 36 long. You're going to be stretching out. You're going to be, it's going to be that kind of, long solos and kind of really settling into a track, and like much more like how you do it live rather than in the studio. I think it's got a real kind of smoky nightclub feel to it. That I think suits BB King really well. And he plays a brilliant solo over the intro, and then off they go. Call and response with the guitars, and Clapton sings, and they alternate verses, I think. And also Joe Sample plays on it as well, who's in the Crusaders with him. Did those 70s albums with him as the keyboard player, the piano player. It's a great Joe Sample. So if you haven't heard his 70s Midnight Believer and The Thrill Is Gone, those albums that he did with the Crusaders, they're really good. Very smooth albums, but they're fantastic. Beautifully arranged. So as I say, it's the kind of the centerpiece. The solos are fantastic. The playing is brilliant. Great singing and a great feel to the song, kind of slowish blues. They stretch out. Right, we're here, chaps. Let's do something. So as I say, one of the real centerpieces. 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Absolutely love the vibe and the feel of it. They play beautifully together. And as I say, I think this is one of the ones where I started getting confused about who was taking the solos. Eric, stop playing like BB. I'm easily confused. And so I was, but it's fine. Brad, over to you.
Oh, look, it's, I can't sort of touch on too much more than what you guys have already for this one. I mean, beautiful, soulful playing from Clapton, and, love the piano in this song. Clapton singing great. BB King licks in the verses are, it's what the blues are all about. For BB leading with those licks in between the vocal phrasing is just, it's phenomenal. BB's voice in this, it's almost like the speakers aren't handling how much body and presence his vocal has. And I'll reiterate the fact that he sings when he goes for those big notes, he pulls away from the microphone. And that's a really no-go zone when you're recording, but that's how he does that. He gets that big thing. And when you're actually pulling away from a microphone, your voice usually goes smaller, but not for him because he's got so much body in his voice. So, because he was singing from deep down, man, there was some deep down singing in this one, all across the album as well. One thing I'll note is you can hear like an almost weepy sort of thing in his voice, like when it sounds like, he's weeping when his vocal delivery. It's quite quite sensitive and emotive. It's amazing. No one really does that. That's quite something unique that BB King had. Again, Clapton's guitar tone is great, and BB King's playing is classic. I gave it a 10 out of 10. Never a skip.
Yeah. It's a fantastic track, isn't it? As a real, one of the centerpieces of the album. It's
Great way to start side B too, if you were listening to an LP.
Yeah. We've got a couple of cats in the chat, guys. Simon's already done a shout out to Johnny Heartbreaker and Crappy Luxury. Nelson, did we do a shout out to Nelson, guys? I can't remember.
We did. I did. I'm sure I did it. Yeah, okay. I'm sure I did it anyway. So shout out to Nelson. I'm sure I did.
We always try and do that.
Yeah.
We'll always try and, when we get 600 of yous in the chat, well, it might be a little bit difficult. So this is the time where I say, and the Rock Professor and Brad will say that you guys are the foundation members of the channel. So you guys can say, I remember when Simon, the Rock Professor, used to shout out to me personally. Woo, doggy. Back to work. Okay, right. Okay. Where's Brad gone? He's gone to get a Coke. All right. Shall we? Well, let's wait for him. Let's shoot the breeze. So Simon's got a bit of time off, so he's going to be doing some preparation, guys, for this album.
Yes. All things must pass. I've lost the bike.
Oh, you're back, bro. You're back. Yeah. We've got Hugh Caldwell here too. Sorry, mate. We just want to help the poor gentleman. Originally from BB King's a repertoire of, gosh, how many songs would have been in BB King's repertoire, guys, over the years? Jeepers, I'd hate to think. And it's obviously found on his classic 65 Live at the Regal that Simon correctly and mandatorily
mandatorily, brilliant. Yes, come on.
Manda compulsively told you guys that you have to check out. Look, it's if you're a blues nut, if you're a blues guitarist, you have to check out some albums. And when I was a young guy, there were all these articles making reference to this album, Live at the Regal, and I'm sure Brad and Simon and everyone else in the chat had similar experiences. It was an album that you had to go and find or get and check out, and it's a goosebumps album, especially now considering he's gone. So go and check it out.
Yeah. If you check out things like Joe Bonamassa's record Live at the Greek with the horn section, that is BB King Live at the Greek. I mean, it's he's recreating that sound, isn't he? Absolutely, brilliantly. But he's still recreating. He's using that as the template for that too. So yeah,
which is an interesting point because one of the few artists I think who could incorporate horns really, really well from a I don't know what I'm saying. I love the album, and maybe one day we might even review that album and rank that album and skip and play with it because it deserves some recognition. So you got a funky New Orleans groove to this album, to the song. I love the funk. Love the fact that there's a bit of funk there. I'm going to ask my co-host, who's responsible for the funk? I don't know. I don't know what's going on there because there's a bit of funk going on with this album. So, I don't know who's bringing the funk. And one of the great things about the song too is that you've got a nice Jimmy Vaughan solo to it. Just, butter, hot butter on toast or something like that. Slippery, love it. I'm going to give the song a 9 out of 10. Never a skip. Rock Professor.
Yeah, so that kind of funny to me, I had a cross a bit like Black Magic Woman or Egyptian. I don't know if this means anything to anybody else in the chat. Egyptian reggae. A song called Egyptian reggae. which has that
picked
kind
up
of
Black Magic Woman. I picked that up a little.
Yeah. So that kind of tempo to it, rhythm to it, as a thing that again, contrasting with the previous song. You know, make an album. It's got an album. If you're doing a blues album, you know, it's quite easy to just do a blues album, isn't it? You know, and it can be all the same. So you've got to introduce kind of reasonably subtle changes when you do different songs. You know, we've had a sort of funky bit with a wah-wah guitar, and we've had that smoky kind of nightclub thing. We've had the acoustic thing. So now we've got this kind of mid-tempo blues with kind of military-style drumming. You know, it kind of rolls. It's quite, as you say, with Jimmy Vaughan playing guitar, and BB sings verse 1, Eric sings verse 2 with the backing singers. So they alternating the singing, which is one of the recurring themes of the song. And really nice guitar playing. 9 out of 10 from me, never a skip. Really good. As I say, you know, I'm very keen on these kind of contrasts, and you know, and having a song having a different vibe, put in a particular place to do a particular thing. I'm all for that. I think it's you know, that this does its job really well. So it's a 9 out of 10 for me. Good stuff. Yeah, really good vibe.
So we're up to Help the Poor. That's what you're talking about. Help the Poor, aren't you? Because I've just lost track a little.
We are. Help the Poor.
Sorry, I was just about to give my ranking for I want to be, and I thought I better check that. But for me, Help the Poor, I mean, there's a great opening solo from BB King. Great vocals. BB has
sorry, mate. Sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm trying to clean up behind the back here. Sorry. My apologies. Start again. I'm very sorry.
No, we'll Help the Poor. It's good I'm starting again because I kind of fumbled a bit there. So, and for me, it's a great opening solo from BB King. You know, great vocals. He's got obviously a lot of weight in his delivery with the vocal delivery. I mean, there's meaning behind what he's singing is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. The shuffle played by the band is deep. It's sludgy. You know, Clapton's singing. He's singing like a man that's pleading for help. Like he's put that emotion into the delivery, which is something quite unique. And not a lot of people can do that. You know, that's something that, to me, if you can put yourself in the vocal delivery and it gives a little bit of human emotion behind behind the words, because if you listen to the words, they're actually trying to put that delivery in the vocal. The lead tone, look, one of the first time I listened to this week, I forgot that Jimmy Vaughan was on this. And I was shocked. I was like, what's going on here again? I remembered after a little while, oh yeah, Jimmy's on this one. But at first I was shocked because I go, that doesn't sound like Clapton or BB or Doyle Bramall or Andy Fairweather. I was like, who's that? And then I obviously remembered after I dived into it and realized that it was Jimmy Vaughan. Then it immediately made sense to me. It was like, oh, that's Jimmy Vaughan. And then I listened to it again, and it was like wonderful to me. It's like great that they got Jimmy involved in that. I love the big bell-like tone on Clapton's guitar in this one. I mean, he's got that here and there, but for me, it's really big and clear and bell-like sounding. For me, it's a 10 out of 10. Never a skip.
Cool.
Awesome. Just hold on, guys. I'm just trying to grab. Do you guys want to do a bit of talking while I just grab a couple of graphics up? Yeah. I thought I had them loaded in the show.
I'll tell you what I can do.
I'm sorry.
Who's in the chat, Simon? I'm just pulling my chat up again now.
No, that's right. We've got Mark Tanner, the Dogfer. They've been having an interesting conversation about Shakespeare's sister and stuff. Hugh Caldwell, Nelson Rodriguez, of course. Arvin as well, Morning Arvin, Crappy Luxury, and Johnny Heartbreaker, and some people. Texas Chatter has gone to bed. His wife's giving him the green light to buy a Les Paul.
Oh wow!
I was talking about buying a lemon drop Les Paul, and we have I'm taking a Phil McKnight's rule on this, that if you ask us if you should buy something on this show, the answer's always yes.
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 And
It's always gonna be yes.
that's a good segue into shout out to Warren, because I think the show has influenced Warren to buy guitars.
Good. In a good way.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So,
I just want to flick up a couple of photos here, guys. So obviously this is the famous one from the cover.
Yep.
And Clapton's looking particularly cool there. Got the arm on the wing, the door, and then this is the back.
After a good night out, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
And this is a famous one here that we'll all be familiar with, guys.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Twin Fender outs.
Yeah.
An SG. Is Clapton got an SG there? That's an SG, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the full. Yep.
Yeah. It's a great picture, isn't it?
Oh, I love these old ones. Love the old ones especially. So,
Guitar
thank you guys. Yeah, thank you for allowing me to throw those on there. Who's getting the guitar? Who's getting the lemon drop?
Texas Jackdaw.
There you go.
Oh, wow!
Well, no,
can't wait for that.
He was asking the chat whether he ought to buy it or not. It's like, well, you know, as I say, I'm taking it's Phil McKnight's view. Anybody asked him in the chat whether they should buy something, the answer is you should buy it.
We'll help you get in trouble. Easy.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, easy.
We'll help you get in trouble. Yes.
Trouble's my middle name. Okay.
Brother.
I want to be. I'm going to be, again, intrigued and interested to see what my co-hosts have to say about this song. I'm not going to say who wrote the song because someone's going to talk about that.
No, you can.
You could do it. No, it's
really
fine.
Important. It's really important because the band that's associated to this song, I just adore that band. Just there's something, they've got some electricity to it. So, look, there's a theme here, Simon, that we've got. There's a funky theme going on with this, isn't it? You know, and it's tailor-made. This song is tailor-made for two guitar gods, and I just think it's a song for them. One of the standouts of the album for me. Eric and BB, great guitar. You've got Doyle in there as well, and if you couldn't find Doyle on other songs on this album, you can find him on this song clearly, in my opinion. Love the song.
Yeah.
I'm not going to Brad score it. It's pretty close to a Brad score, but I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Rock Professor.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of these is I'm not going to say who wrote it.
No.
I'm biting my finger. But, no, you're going to do it. I've got to.
No, I don't want to.
You're going to do it.
If you want to say it, you can say it.
We've made the decision.
No, we're not saying it. No, we're leaving it to you. It's a
Everybody's waiting now in the chat. You know, they were nodding off and all that. No, they
bated breath.
Yeah. Who wrote the song?
I'm sure people know.
It's written by Keith Richards. No, it isn't. It's
a Lennon and McCartney song.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Richards, McCartney, and Dylan. What? None of that is true. I'd just like to point out, none of that is true. So the interesting part is it's got that, it's kind of heavier, this track. It's got that heavy guitar riff at the front, kind of, and
Beautiful.
quite a soaring solo guitar at the front as well. It's sort of beautiful, and then wah wah guitar in the verses as well. Is the return of the wah wah, which is good bit of coloration, different things, different things. Again, they're singing together. Clapton sings with interjections from BB, that kind of back and forth bit, and then with the backing singers too. Great solos as well. Really good, fantastic solos. Really zinging it, and 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Great song. And that's a different vibe to it from the previous one.
Yeah.
So anyway, Brad.
And this is one of my favorites on the album as well. And this song in particular, if you didn't know who wrote it, you would think it's something that was written around the same time as Clapton's released Journeyman. For some reason, I pick up this Journeyman vibe with this song. And for me, at least the tones and the songwriting style sound like it was off, a track that didn't make Journeyman and they released it here. But I know that it was written by Doyle Bramall II, and he released it on one of his records. And the record he released it on is Jelly Cream. So you should check that record out if you haven't done so already. Bit of a shouts out there to Doyle Bramall II, who's, one of my heroes. I think he's amazing and a big influence on me as a songwriter and musically and stuff. But for me, that is a great version, but this is a great version in its own right. I love the vocals from BB and Eric. The drums and bass are cooking in this song. They're just they're cooking. It's a great arrangement. The BVs are great. The up feel to the song makes you feel good. I mean, it's one of those feel good sort of songs to me. Sounds little strange hearing BB King sing on a song like this, but it kind of works. Like if you let go of the fact that he's just a blues icon, kind of works. At 2 minutes 47 in, it sounds like it's Doyle playing the solo to me. What do you guys think? Yeah. I'm not 100% sure because I couldn't find anything that clarified that. But
no,
straight out to me, it's that technique because if you don't know who Doyle Bramall is, he's a left-handed, but he learned to play the right-handed guitar left-handed, so everything's backward. So his bending technique is definitely quite unique, and it stands out. For me, it's a great outro solo by Clapton as well. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's definitely never a skip, and it's one of the highlights of the record for me as well.
One of the co-writers, the other co-writer of the song is Charlie Sexton, who used to be the other guitarist, the other mainstay in a great band called Archangels. If you guys aren't familiar with Archangels, check them out.
Yep.
Yeah, and also Charlie Sexton played a long time with Bob Dylan, from 1999 through 2015, I think, or 13 at least. Yeah, great guitar player, Charlie Sexton. Worth checking out, from San Antonio, Texas. There we are, good old Texan boy.
Yep.
Hello, Sonia, if you're awake.
And I suppose one of the interesting things about that band, and this is one of the detours that we're going to do, guys, because we can, because it's related to this album. One of the sad things about that album, that band, they cracked the radio, didn't they? They cracked the radio with some radio hits, and then they looked good, which is really, really important for popular music. But drugs get in the, that's, Doyle got his heroin addiction, as I understand it, around that time too. So, just a sad situation. And then obviously, the record company telling them what they needed to record, which was, I think, the final straw in the nail in the coffin for the band, and certainly for Doyle, because they were saying, you can't write the songs. We're going to give you the songs. You're going to record it this way. These are our producers. You're just going to get out there. And that's one of the reasons, Brad and Simon, why we love Doyle, because he turned around and gave away $1 million career and said, nah.
Yeah. Yep. Just to be clear, there's Doyle Bramall and Doyle Bramall II.
Yeah, Doyle Bramall.
Doyle Bramall is the player on this. Is not the drummer?
Yeah. It's not Stevie's Doyle. This is Eric's Doyle.
No, it's not Stevie Ray Vaughan's Doyle. Yeah. So just in case you weren't confused before, I probably confused it more. But there we are.
That's all right. Confuse them all.
Idiot. Oh dear.
Oh goodness.
Troublemaker Williams. Anyway, so
what are we up to?
Worried Life Blues. We're up to.
Yeah. Look, gosh, is this Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John song? Is this one of those songs, guys? Is it a blues canon? We've got the second acoustic track. It's an old favourite of Eric Clapton's, isn't it? And both these greats are playing acoustically, from what I can gather on this song. I could be corrected by my co-hosts, but every reference that I came across, everyone is saying that they have played, or that both of them are playing on this song. Look, I've got to be careful what I say here, because you could get into trouble for making flippant comments. It's not a throwaway song. It's just a blues song that they play really, really well. It's not a standout on the album for me. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, but I can see where it fits as far as the contrast, because, again, that's one of the great things that good albums do. 8 out of 10. It's never a skip. It's not my favourite version of the song. Wouldn't be in my top 5 versions of this song. There's plenty of other more interesting versions out there, but nevertheless, I'm not going to skip it. Rock Professor.
No, I think that, again, it's the right place to have another acoustic song. Again, you've had the sort of slightly heavier rock thing, and you're contrasting that with the 2 acoustic things. So I think it works really well in the position that it is. Brushes on the centrum. I don't know. Great. I love the bass playing as well. I don't know if it's an upright bass or whether it's a. I kind of felt like it was an upright bass, but I don't know if that's just me making it up. But that's what I kind of felt like about it. It's got a great swing to it as well. Really nice sort of swing vibe to it. As you say, it's kind of, Clapton's done this before, hasn't he? He's done Worried Life Blues? I certainly have this vibe that he, so I feel like it's one of the things that he brings. That's one of his songs that he brings and he wanted to do. And, clearly, as I say, another acoustic song that needs to happen here in this stage in the record. They sing alternately. Again, it's very much the theme of this album, alternate singing. First one, Clapton, verse 2, and so on. And they do trading lines at the end as well, which is really cool. 8 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. I think it does what it's supposed to do here extremely well. He's a Clapton fave. Brad.
Well, for me, I could possibly get a timeout here.
Oh dear.
Look, Worried Life Blues. All right, mellow acoustic vibes. It's that mellow acoustic blues thing. MTV unplugged vibes. I'm not sure. Look, understated vocals from BB and Eric that actually suit the song perfectly. The acoustics sound great. Nice acoustic mellow blues. Feels somewhat like an album filler for me. I don't know why they needed to put this on there, in my opinion. Still worthy of being on, I guess. I gave it a 6 out of 10. And I would potentially skip it. But I agree with Andrew that there's better versions of this song. It's not my favourite version of it. it's great to hear BB on it, I guess. 6 out of 10 for me, and possibly a skip.
No problem. No problem.
No,
I dig where you're coming from, and yeah, I dig it. When I first heard this song on the album, I loved it, but then compared it to other versions out there. So no, I dig it. I might get into trouble for the next song, then, guys. The next song, which is a BB King song. So forgive me, but I just it's a great boogie shuffle. You got BB King clearly loves playing this song, and the whole band are cooking. It's you can see in your mind that the band, the bass player Nathan, you can see that they're all smiling and looking at each other because they're playing with BB King. That's the feeling I get from this song. Brad said that the previous song could be a filler. I'm going to say that this could be a filler too, but not in that negative way. And I'm not saying that Brad meant it like that either. No. It's a band song, Simon and Brad. It's a band song. It's something that the band have put in there for themselves, I think. And if you are inspired by it as a listener and you like it, well, I think they're going to be happy. And if you don't like it, they're going to be happy too, because they're still getting drinks at the bar. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you about this. I think that one of the interesting things about this album is that it's got, the original album had 12 tracks on it. So I think it's I think to me there's a certain amount on here of instead of being an album where you have 10 tracks, suddenly you've got, look, we've got you've got a CD, and then you can stretch out, and then you can put more songs on and stuff like that. And I think that which is fine. I didn't feel it was too long. I'll say that I didn't feel I didn't feel it was too long. I thought it did this thing, but inevitably you've got to have that kind of where some tracks are not as strong as the other ones. I think if you made a 10-track album out of this, you'd have 10 nines and
Good
10s
point.
and it would be really strong. And I think that this is clearly a CD song, a CD album, not a vinyl album, and they've approached it differently. So I think that's fine. As you said, Andrew, it reminds you of I wrote down jump blues for this, kind of jump blues, kind of 50s, kind of Cab Calloway or sort of Rocket 88 type sort of pre thing, that a vibe I got from it. Again, doing a different vibe, a different kind of song, different kind of different texture to it. But similar structure with Eric singing and BB singing, and it's a 7 out of 10. It's not a skip, I don't think, but it's one of the slighter songs on the album, and but fun nevertheless.
Keith says it's a go pee song. We might have to pinch that. We might pinch that. I might. Yeah. The next song might be a go pee song, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
I think you made a really valid point there, Simon, that the way they've tracked this and put the songs on there is for a CD, not for an LP. So I think that's a really good observation you just made there, because when this came out, the world was all CDs, and track listings on CDs are always different to like an LP. So very valid point, and maybe that might actually change my rankings a little bit thinking about it that way, but maybe not. I don't know. Look, for me, it's got a nice, fun swing vibe to the song. I love the vocals. I think BB and Eric are singing great on it. Some great trade-off playing between BB and Eric. You even hear, Eric raking in a Stevie Ray Vaughan styling in one section of it. In his solo, I'm talking about the band's cooking. BB King solo is very classic. It's BB King drips BB King to me. Classic big band stylings from the band, and they're swinging. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It's maybe you could rank it a tiny bit higher because the band is cooking on it. And but for me, I ranked this 2-3 times, and I'm sticking with a 7 at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. Just to reiterate the point, if you buy the vinyl version of the album, I'll just read out the track. It says clearly, "Riding with the King, 10 long years, Keys to the Highway, Marry You, 3 O'Clock Blues, and Help the Poor" is side 1. Side 2 is "I Wanna Be, Worried Life Blues, Days of Old, When My Heart Beats Like a Hammer, Hold On I'm Coming, and Come Rain or Come Shine."
Correct.
So you've got a different, different thing there. You've got the acoustic track on both sides, and pretty much the same place. So you've got a different thing out of the vinyl thing than you do out of this.
Well, the CD is an hour long, so that's a point that that I've got to in the conclusion. Yeah, so it's a good time to talk about that. So we all agree, that. And that's a good point too that Brad made earlier. 2000. We've had 10 years of the CD right through the 1990s. The CD's reigning supreme. And and soon we're going to get double CDs and triple CDs coming out. Wow. So
or George Harrison, I'm looking at you.
That's a good point, and. Worth mentioning by the show. So, where are we up to, guys? We're up to Where My Heart Beats Like a Hammer.
Yep.
Slow blues, guys. So we're down to some slow blues. Another highlight for me. It's a highlight. There's a couple of songs that they could have not included. Worried Life Blues and Days of Old. They could have skipped that. I Want to Be and jumped to When My Heart Beats Like a Hammer. I would have been happy with that. Would have been happy, and we've just been speaking about that. The boys get low down and dirty on this one. It's one of Brad's favourite comments, low down and dirty. Low down and dirty when he's describing some good, organic, dirty Texas bar, Melbourne blues, And they give it all they have, don't they? It's a cooking song. The band... Yeah, look, I love it. 9 out of 10. I would have given this song 10 out of 10 had those other two songs, been not included, if that makes any sense. Rock Professor.
Yeah, I agree. This is the other great centerpiece of this album, isn't it? The other slow, smoky blues on this side, if you like, if we're thinking about sides. But gone back to where we were. Was the long one. I have a memory like a sieve. But anyway, so slow smoky blues, so organ on it as well. Quite a piano, Joe Sample playing funky piano on it. It's a 9 out of 10,
Simon.
Never a skip, and one of the. Hey Simon, good morning. It's as I say, one of the other centerpieces, fantastic solos, and that's really what it's set up to do. It's only 3 verses, so in 7 minutes there's lots of solo to happen in that, aren't there? And they go back and forth, and it's fantastic. And as I say, one of the centerpieces to the album. 9 out of 10, never a skip from me.
Brad?
Yeah, well, for me, it's where am I up to? Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. I've got sidetracked. It's a deep, slow blues. Some amazing vocals from BB King. Like, you can really feel pain in his vocals, delivery. Sounds great. Eric's obviously giving some great licks between the vocals. He's got that huge bell-like tone happening with his strat, which I love. The first solo, he's playing lots of space between the notes. Second solo is BB, I think, and you can clearly hear his BB box shape solo style. There's some real sweet tones there. The band are holding it down mellow, but really tight and down and dirty. And I gave it 8 out of 10. I'm laughing about it now.
Lovely. Yeah.
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, because soon we're going to be popping in somebody in. We're going to be jumping someone into the chat. So hang around. We're getting there, and that person knows who they are in the chat. So hold on. We never spoil surprises on this show, guys.
Never.
Hold on, I'm coming. Stack's favourite, originally a hit for Sam and Dave. Odd choice of a song on a blues album. It's an odd choice. It's an odd choice on this album. I don't like it. I don't like it, guys. I don't like it at all. It's a sometimes skip, and it's a 5 out of 10 for me. Rock Professor.
Whoa!
I think that could be a time out, Andrew.
Look at that flow. Yeah, that's sent to the naughty step for sure.
Naughty for you, man. Yes.
Oh, it's something of a contrast to Mr. Walton's view of this song.
I kind of feel a little bit hurt for BB and Eric there. Jeez, that's harsh, mate.
That's my face. That's my Andrew Walton shocked face.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Well, in contrast to Mr. Walton, I really like this song. I love the song. I've played it in bands in the past. You know, I know, and I guess that these things colour one's view of those songs. You know, I've enjoyed playing this in bands in the past. It's like my old band used to do it, and for me, it's a great song, and I think they do a great job of it. It's got a great sort of, it's just. Because it's a classic song, you know, written by Isaac Hayes, the mighty Isaac Hayes and David Porter. But I think that they get it just right. It's got a swinging sort of party vibe to it. It's it's one of those songs that I love. So it's a 9 out of 10 and never a skip from me. And I love the way they go back and forth again, you know, keeping that vocal thing going. They go back and forth with the vocals with the backing singers. And then they have a little kind of guitar duel at the end and stuff that I really enjoyed. Yeah, 9 out of 10 and never a skip from me.
Well, I'm hoping that Simon and my assessment of this song, Andrew, might make you go back and listen to it in a different light. I'm hoping. No? He's shaking his head.
All right, we'll do money. If we send money, will you like it?
Yeah.
Every man has his price.
Look,
yeah. Simon, the good thing about it, though, is that I'm cheap.
I'm going to go against the grain here. I'm going to go against the grain, and I think Andrew might time me out for going against him.
What's it? 3 out of 10 and always a skip.
No, because I love this song. I love it. I love the guitar playing it. There's great guitar playing from everyone on it. Really sludgy rhythm. I think Eric's vocals are great. BB King singing from deep down, like he's projecting on it, like his life depends on it. And the soloing in it is timeless. For me, it was just great to hear BB and Eric doing this song. For some reason, I just really enjoyed it. I gave it a 10 out of 10. Never a skip.
Wow.
Wow. We don't always have to agree on everything, Andrew.
No, I think that's probably one of the biggest contrasts that we've had. No, you've had some 3s and some 4. Yeah. I haven't gone below 5.
Come on, you could defend yourself a bit more than that. I think it's not enough.
I have been pretty ruthless with some of my scoring in the past.
Yeah. It's all right. It's fine. Yeah. Andrew Walton, sometimes right, sometimes wrong, but always certain. Yes.
All right, gentlemen, this has been a bit of fun, this album. We're up to the last song.
Lovely.
Like often with our picks, guys, we always try to stick to the original unless it's a standout like the new Beatles album that's coming out, and we'll certainly be going through, the new Beatles one. Yeah. So, but this is the last song on the album, gentlemen. Come Rain or Come Shine. It's a beautiful standard by another great who would have been alive at that time too, if I'm correct, rock professor, Ray Charles. When did Ray Charles part?
Well, I think Ray Charles had died by then. I think I will just check.
Okay, carry on. All right. I didn't do that research. Sorry, guys. And BB King apparently had some reservations about doing
2004 he died, Ray Charles.
Okay. So I did come across an interesting article where BB King apparently had some reservations about doing this, but it ends up on the album in a nice, sedate kind of way. You know how we love opening tracks on this show, because an opening track and the book ending, we've got the rock professor here and we've got the Brad here, we've got the bookends, and that's the show.
And Andrew is the meat in the sandwich.
Something.
Oh yeah.
But and I'm going to pinch something that Brad likes, because I'm just such a lazy host sometimes. But Brad often talks about how songs want a 2-minute song might sound like a really, really long experience, and sometimes you've got this long song that goes for 7 or 8 minutes, and it's like, wow, it just only feels like 2 minutes, and sometimes you just want the song to go on. And I think he mentioned it earlier too in the show, that there was a song that he could just imagine that the band were continuing. This song ends this album, and I want more. This song for me just doesn't. I'm going, where's the rest of it? I'm disappointed with the album ending with this song, and I was 21 years ago when it came out, and listening to it this week, guys, I'm still going, gee. But I did a sneaky little thing. I listened to the anniversary release that came out last year, the 20th anniversary release, and they fixed that mistake. The mistake is fixed.
Yes.
So I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10, Rock Professor and Brad, and I'm going to pass it on to the Rock Professor.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is it's like the slow dance at the end of a a long night at the nightclub, isn't it? Kind of thing.
Simon, but it's the slow dance where you don't take the girl home.
You mean, and that's never happened to you?
Exactly.
Exactly. You mean, I cannot relate to the song. I've always taken the girl home. What is that about?
Oh.
Oh dear. Whereas I can relate many a time. Yes, not taking the girl home. Oh dear. So this is funny. I think this is the song. This is like a bit of a sort of classic farewell from BB, isn't it? It's like, that's what I felt about it, and of course applying the kind of retrospective bit about and you think, he's kind of put in, that's what you play at his at his funeral or something, as a kind of this is me saying goodbye, good night, thank you so much, and I think it's he does this sort of thing beautifully, Bibby. He's got the voice for it, he's got the guitar playing for it, and he's got the strings on it and stuff like that. Again, it's got, I think, we not had strings. I don't think we had strings on any other album. We not had any strings on any other record part of this album. So it's a new thing, new texture, new thing completely, slow. It's an 8 out of 10 from me. Never a skip, and I absolutely think that the perfect ending to an album. Absolutely, I agree with you, Andrew. Yes, you've got the other 2 songs that they put on the 2020 thing, but yeah, 8 out of 10. Never a skip from me. Lovely stuff. Brad.
Well, for me, I mean, is it me or does BB King sound like he's actually weeping as he sings this one? I mean, his voice is so infectious to me, and I've always been amazed at, as soon as BB starts singing, you can actually feel the emotion in the song. Do you guys get that, or is that just me? I don't know. It's Andrew, I don't know how you feel about that, but for me, that's whenever I hear BB King sing, I can immediately feel the emotion in the song, and it's infectious. Eric compliments BB vocally. He's really trying his best on a BB, I think, especially in this song. The solo trade-offs are beautifully done. They're mellow, they're touching. It's a great way to end the album. It's like a timestamp for Eric and for BB. I think they needed to do this together, this album. BB was, 72 when he did this album? Was it, Andrew? I think you said 72?
Yeah, I see.
Or Simon? I can't remember who said that. But look, the band's holding it down. It's really mellow. It's a really peaceful, respectful way to end the album, in my opinion. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, seriously, guys. I just want to echo what my co-hosts have said. It's a no disrespect to the song, and if you picked up on what I said when I was talking about the song, I was mainly comparing the song to the experience of the album. But my co-hosts have brought the show back to credibility and been a responsible thing by saying, that the song itself is great. It's one of BB King's probably great songs, and Simon said it too. It's a sad song in the sense that BB's not around anymore. So but I'm still I still want more. It's not a closer for me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's interesting.
Hey, hey, what's going on?
Hey now.
Hey, Joe.
Look, the Simons.
the 2 Simons.
Oh, no, the other way.
Yeah, that way.
The 2. Hey, Simon. How you doing, Rock Professor?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm in the kitchen, so the sound's not too echoey. It's all right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm in the living room.
Andrew, Brad, how you doing, gentlemen?
Great to have you on, bro.
Hang on, my alarm's going off. I don't know what's going off.
Wake up.
Murphy's Law, right?
Yeah. Thanks for jumping in, Anne. Thanks for jumping in.
Of course, yeah. It's been fun listening to you guys talk about these 2 guys today, because that particular album I don't know super well, but I know a lot of the tracks off that of course have been covered a million times by other guys, And I was hassling you, Andrew, before about I don't know if you guys haven't heard Michael Landau's version of "Worried Life Blues" with I can't remember who's on drums now, but it's one of the most incredible versions of it, and the drumming is as nuts as Michael's guitar playing. But yeah,
wow, we'll check it out definitely.
There we are.
Yeah, we'll definitely check it out.
Awesome.
So it's great to have you on, Simon. And yesterday's show was wonderful.
Yeah.
Had a lot
really
of great
good. Yeah.
Everyone's been so really kind and giving us some really great feedback. So thank you.
That's wonderful, and it was really, really fun chatting about all those different things and chewing the fat. And time flies, right? So it ended up going pretty long, but it didn't feel that long, So
no. Well,
but anyway, I'm happy to be on officially meeting you, Simon, like face to face. So
it's cool.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The show was fantastic yesterday.
Oh, cool.
And,
yeah.
And,
our family's growing. with obviously Simon, with you jumping on the 5150 show, and I understand that Brad's nailed you down to be part of the 5150 family. It's a thing that we do pretty well on this show, you know. So you know, it's easy to jump on, but you never leave. You know, it's
Hotel California. YouTube's version of Hotel California.
I was just going to say, Simon's right. That's a lyric right there. Yeah.
No, but we appreciate you wanting to be part of the 5150 family. And Simon is too. He's a producer of the show, so you know he's you know. And we have Michael also, who's based in New York, who jumps on and does a few little special gigs with us. So, you know, thank you.
Yeah, he's done Michael's done some amazing stuff of demonstrating stuff. Pink Floyd demonstration was amazing. Yeah, check them out. I think Andrew's done some separate clips of them so that they're like 5 or 6 minutes long. Yeah, really worth checking out because he does a fantastic job of doing that stuff. Yeah,
wonderful.
Really cool. And really enhances the experience for sure.
Yeah, I think anytime that you can actually give like what's the right word, right expression? You know, like an off the cuff kind of audio demonstration of the kinds of things musically that you talk about. I think that helps people a lot. Actually, you know, I know it does for me.
Yeah.
No,
well, there's one thing that we want to nail you on, if that's okay, while we've got you here, and Brad and I have spoken about it a couple of times during the day. Your interesting analysis and example of eruption. It just had Brad and I and a lot of people. I don't know if you've gone back and watched the show.
I haven't.
You want to watch the chat. A lot of people were just enthralled by your analysis. So the next time, next time you jump on the 5150 show, we would love you to do that again, if that's okay.
Well, how about this? I've actually just finished doing like a proper computer software, like a Sibelius, an annotated version of the transcription with tab. That goes with, you know, my sort of philosophy of where I feel the beat and all the things we were talking about yesterday. So why don't we, and we can talk about when we want to do it, but we could do like a proper, where we could have a link where people can download the tab for free, no problem. And then maybe I can put together like a short little video of me playing the click or something, you know.
Fantastic, because if that's going to draw your presence and get people in the Van Halen community checking that out and paying to have that experience, we're up for that, because it's again, you know, the connection that you made to jazz wasn't over at least Brad and my head anyway, because we love jazz. You know, I was telling Brad before, I grew up listening to jazz in my house. My father loved Miles Davis, and the same with Brad, and same with the Rock Professor. The fact that you made that connection with the Van Halens, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, on a surface level, it's probably fairly self-evident anyway with a lot of their boogies and their swings and stuff. But I think that specifically with relevance to Eruption, once I realized that most of it kind of settled with the same click, I went, oh, right, it's basically just a really, really fast bebop swing, you know. And and so the thing for me is, even if it, like, let's just say that we could speak to Eddie today and it totally wasn't that at all, it doesn't matter for me, because it makes so much sense that you know, you can play Eruption almost side by side with Eddie's original recording in time, and it makes complete sense, even if the click is just in your head, you know. So
so it could be one of those subconscious. I mean, I hear people talk a lot about, you know, the analysis of music and things and what people are doing, and clearly a lot of the musicians are not actually not realizing that they're playing a, you know, Aeolian scale over whatever it is or whatever. You know, they're clearly not realizing, they're just doing it, you know.
Yeah, they're just doing it.
It doesn't devalue the analysis, does it, at all?
Yeah, and I think you're right, Simon. And Eddie in interviews always would say, I mean, one of his famous quotes that used to drive me absolutely crazy as a teenager when I wanted to learn, like, how does he think about, soloing in his music and stuff like that, is he would say, you've got 12 semitones and whatever order you put them in is up to your heart. And I was just like, oh man, that's not something I can practice. That's not an answer. It used to drive me nuts. But actually, I agree with you. I think that Eddie and Alex really were gifted, not to say they didn't work at it, because we all know they put in the hours. But I think that they both had a gift, which means that they didn't need to intellectualize it. It just kind of flowed out of them,
No, and I have to say, reiterating what Andrew said yesterday, I think that you guys ought to do a show about Alex Van Halen. That's a really interesting thing. The two sides of the coin, and it's very easy to just have the yin of Eddie, but not without the yang of Alex. Is I think you've said it brilliantly yesterday, and that's a really interesting show to delve into that combination of the two people. Actually,
I've never really thought of it like that, but to talk about Eddie and Alex, like the yin and the yang, is exactly right. I think that, and I sort of touched on it yesterday, but I didn't want to put too much emphasis on it, because then it takes away from how much I just love Eddie Van Halen. But the truth is that my favorite Eddie Van Halen stuff of all the things he ever did is pretty much with Alex. And I just think that there's an extra 30% that happens when the two of them play together, that when, Alex apparently only did a few other things outside of the band, none of which I've heard, but I've just heard that he did them. And then, as we know, Eddie only did a few things. And I think that, like, the Beat It solo he did on Michael Jackson, that's a great solo. But to me, that's like the best thing he did that wasn't with Alex. All the other things I've heard, and obviously more things now that he's passed away, have like sort of come to light. People are releasing demos they've got on cassettes and all sorts of stuff. And I just think that I hear it and it sounds like Eddie, like it's like, yep, that's it. Yeah. But it doesn't, there's something soulful. It doesn't hit me in my spot. But when I hear him play with Alex, it hits me in my spot. And it's one of those things, So yeah, the yin and the yang, Simon, I totally agree.
Yeah. Well, the chemistry of great bands is a subject for a dissertation, isn't it? I'm a bit older than you, so for me, Led Zeppelin are or the Beatles had, the chemistry that those guys had. The Beatles are not the Beatles if Ringo Starr isn't drumming for them, and his left-handed style. It's not the Beatles, and therefore, Ringo's a crap drummer. And you hear all those things all the time. It's like, no, Ringo's a fantastic drummer in the greatest band in the world ever. In my books, and so I kind of feel like that those things are really important, and identifying those, and looking at those relationships within bands, and the way that people interact with each other. And clearly, they're brothers. They've grown up together. They've grown up musically together. And there's to me, there's a whole thing in that, that I think is really worth exploring. And you saying it yesterday was really cool.
Yeah, and I think that I'm sure I can speak for a lot of people when I say that. You were saying that you do hear from time to time, and over decades too, not just recently, that Ringo was a crap drummer and he wasn't really at the level of the other guys and stuff. It's like, I'm sorry, I just totally do not subscribe to that at all. Yeah. I think that what it's like when you songwrite with two or three different, when you co-write with people in a room, inevitably there might be one of those three people that doesn't really end up contributing the same volume of stuff in terms of like the lyrics or the chords but the truth is, were it not for that human being's energy in the room, the other two people that did most of the heavy lifting might not have come up with those ideas at all. Mm. And so even if you look at it like that, it's like to say that to sort of, try and separate out the different ingredients in the recipe for the cake and say, well, you can still make the cake without all the sugar because the sugar is the Ringo Starr or the Michael Anthony is ridiculous. The truth is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And there's an alchemy that happens with any of those amazing bands, whether it's the Beatles or Led Zeppelin or Van Halen or Pink Floyd. It doesn't matter who it is. There's an alchemy where, and I sort of mentioned it yesterday, but I remember a great quote when I was watching a documentary on the Mamas and the Papas. And when they used to get together and they would practice their vocal harmonies all standing around one microphone, like an omnidirectional mic. And they knew when they had everything exactly right, because it sounded like there was an extra vocal that they weren't singing that was there present in the room. And they used to call that extra vocal Harry. And so when they had it right, they'd say, Harry's here, you know. And that's the same thing. It's, you know, you take one of those elements out and all of a sudden you don't have the same cake anymore. And it doesn't matter how great Edward Van Halen is, or it doesn't matter how great Robert Plant is, or you know, George Harrison. It's not the same recipe, you know.
No. Which is why the carrying on bit is interesting, isn't it?
Who's going to read that comment that John's put up?
John,
Someone's got to read it.
D351 says Eddie was the yin, Alex was the yang, Dave was the yabba dabba doo doo dootsy boo wop.
That's great.
That's
great.
it. Yeah, fantastic. Well
and
done.
I've got to say to John, thank you for your great comments, brother, because I noticed there were a lot of great comments yesterday as well. So yeah, thanks, John.
Yeah,
it's mind-blowing, isn't it, Simon, when you jump on these shows and you do these shows live and you just flick through and scroll through the comments. You know, Simon, the rock professional, I've been doing this for a couple of years, and, you know, we've just get blown away. And Brad, and we talk about, you know, what happens in the chat often after shows. And now with you being part of the 5150 family, you know, you'll be part and parcel of all that carry on as well. We just love it. It just blows us away. Humbled by it, Simon.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And I'm very humbled to be invited on yesterday, especially. And yeah, if there's future opportunities like you're talking about where I can sort of jump on and we can chat. I mean, you've already gathered that I'm not short of a word once you wind me up. So that's absolutely fine with me, gentlemen.
You'll fit right at home with everybody on here, my friend.
But you know, isn't that how it should be? You know, it's like a bunch of friends sitting around in the lounge room talking about their favorite things. And you know, you look at your watch and you go, "Oh my God, it's 3 a.m. I've got to drive home." That's what it is. You know?
Yeah. I've described it to people. People say to me, "You do a YouTube show?" I say, "Yeah." I said, 4 blokes going down the pub, having a few beers and talking about their favourite bands, which we did when we were 17, you know, or whatever, 15, or something. Yeah. To me, it's exactly the same thing. It's
It really is. We were talking yesterday, of course, about how isn't it wonderful that we live in, I mean, look, there's a lot of strange things happening in the world right now, as we all know. But one of the great things that's happening with technology and the internet and social media is, in a way, that the more separated we seem to feel with lockdowns, you know, and all that stuff, but the more that humans find a reason to find a different way of coming together. And I think that this is one of those things. And Simon, obviously, I mean, you and I are on opposite sides of the planet, but right now we could be just down at the pub, you know?
Yeah. It's one of my favourite things people say to me, "Well, who do you do it with?" I say, "Oh, I do it with somebody who lives in New Zealand, as far away from me as it's possible to get."
That's why it works, Simon. That's why it bloody works.
Yeah.
Well, for everyone in the chat, Simon and I have been talking a bit today about some future things on the 5150 show. So we've got some good things in store, and they're all Simon's ideas. Yeah. So,
fantastic.
We're looking forward to that. And, it's looking forward to working with you a bit more, Simon. It's going to be great.
Well, you know, the chat yesterday was free flowing, and you know, it's one of those things where you're not even aware of the time. And so yeah, I'll be more than happy to. You and I were saying earlier today, Brad, that there's so many things we hadn't even planned to talk about that we didn't even get to. So I think that it seems like with the 4 of us, we're just never going to run out, you know.
That's it.
And by the way, no rabbit hole too deep for us not to go down.
Not on this show.
Oh, we're all about the tiniest detail, the minutest. Let's go over there and really examine it.
Yeah, we actually
Absolutely.
We dig deeper into the rabbit hole, mate. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We keep going.
Find another one.
That's exactly right. And, it seems to me that in the last 5 years or so, and even with things like, Dan and Mick, who do that pedal show, and they get hassled and accused of having shows that are too long, and they talk too much, and they go down too many rabbit holes. But the truth is, the viewership doesn't lie, and people want that now. They're actually hungry for rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you get into music. If you get into music and you love it, what you want is the details of it, don't you?
Yeah.
You want to understand the details of it. The little things, the little nuggets of information, the little stories around whatever it might be. That I think are really the fun of it in many ways.
What's happening though is that because there's rubbish on television, so guys like us are spending more and more time watching stuff on YouTube that you want to watch. So when you think about it, you used to spend 3 hours watching crap on TV. Now you sit and watch the pedal show and the 5150 show, and there's your evening gone.
You watch 3 hours of us.
And you know what? And another thing, Andrew, is it's very possible that this is a direct result of the fact that music now has no details attached to it. So, for example, when you download an album off iTunes, like one of my favorite things as a kid was I would go to the record store and I'd buy whatever that, whatever that thing was. What do you got there? What are you flapping on the screen? Oh, there you go. Yeah.
No, we're really
Look at
good
that.
Even CDs give it to you.
But
the liner notes and
okay,
like
so yes,
Andrew
and Simon, that's exactly what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that my favorite thing to do. So I'd catch the train into the city, and I'd go to Metal for Melbourne or a record store like that, and I'd buy whatever my favorite thing was. I saved up all my money for, and I would spend that whole train ride home analyzing every single thing printed on that record cover. So I would look at who's the management, who was the producer, who engineered it. I'd read all the lyrics. And this is before I even got home. There you go.
Look at that.
Because,
and you get lyrics, which you can read because they're on a piece of paper 12 by 12.
Because it was as much a part of the experience of how the music was created as it was about the music itself. And so before I even got home and put the record on and put my headphones on, I already knew most of the things I wanted to know about that album. And I just think that it's such a shame. Look, I'm all for technology moving forward, and I think that as long as streaming can be monetized properly, which it seems to be improving all the time, I'm all for it. I've got no problem with any different platform, except for I think the kids are being shortchanged because they don't get the experience of the album artwork, and they don't get the experience of all the information that comes with the music,
Look at that.
What's that you got, Simon?
Oh, this is an album by a man called Ariel Posen. If you don't know who he is, check him out. He's a Canadian guitar player. Amazing.
I will definitely check him out.
Slide
Okay.
guitar. But it's fantastic. I went on a guitar playing holiday.
Yeah.
He was one of the pros. He's an amazing guy. But that's one of an album he brought out last year. It's kind of like cool. On vinyl.
Yep, vinyl.
I'm all about it. Yes, I buy all the stuff I buy on pretty much if I can on vinyl. Not everything, but a lot of stuff I want to buy. I mean, he's amazing. He did these sorts of things. This is
Wonderful, isn't it?
This is killer stuff that you can do. You see, you couldn't do this one. See that, right? That is a sort of direct cut single with a message to me on it.
Wow.
So it's one of the songs that he did, and it's a direct, and basically it says, "Hi Simon, hope you're good. This is for you," kind of thing. And and he just and then so he had to play it through live, and then it gets cut direct onto a little single.
Wow,
cool
that is very cool. That is very, very cool.
It's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's as a marketing thing. I mean, to be fair, he's a musician. He's to earn money. But I love that sort of thing. So I've got two of them. Is that they're beautiful things, and especially because it's a direct cut thing, and it's just him playing an acoustic guitar, and he does the message to you on it. You know, clearly it's a limited edition thing. You know?
Of course,
so
I think
that's,
yeah,
that's
beautiful. Wonderful. Really, really wonderful.
Yeah. So, you know, in a way that I'm not going to show that, in a way that, you know, it doesn't quite have the same impact.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And, you know, can I just say, gentlemen, that I think even the expression never a skip, it had more, it had more gravitas and meaning in the day when you had vinyl on. If you wanted to skip a track, you really, really wanted to skip that track because you had to go over to the turntable, take the needle and go, and put it down again somewhere else. But now the kids on Spotify just go click and skip. But back in the day, never a skip means you really didn't want to hear that track.
Yeah, well, that we rank albums, and we've been doing it. I've been doing it with these gentlemen now for nearly a year. And I'll touch on that in a second. I tried to leave, but Andrew sent the heavies around, and now I can't leave. So. But
he's just a prisoner.
There's Hotel California here, mate. Once you come, you can never leave. But we're all about the experience of an album, and that's where that never a skip came from. You know.
Yeah, right. And
putting that album from start to finish.
I remember years ago, I was working with a singer, and we ended up working late one night after recording in the studio, and we were just sort of winding down, and we were chatting, and we ended up talking about Midnight Oil, actually, which was completely random. Anyway, she only knew a couple of things, and I said, if you haven't listened to their 10 to 1 record, then that's a real work of art. You know, Nick Launay producing and engineering, and anyway, so she said, well, play it for me. So we ended up turning the lights down, and we sat down, and we both put headphones on, and I used a headphone splitter out of my amp, and we sat and we listened to the whole record from the first track to the end track. And at the end, she just looked at me and said, I've actually, that was an experience like watching a movie. She said, I've never listened to an album in track order like that before. And I was like, wow. And that was when I realized how fast music was changing for the next generation, because they just don't listen to music like that anymore. But those albums were made to be a journey, you know, like they had their ups and their downs, and track order was really, really important, which is why it's interesting listening to you guys talk about albums each week, because the track order is so important, because it takes you on a journey. You know, you just can't have 5 fast songs and then 5 ballads after that. You know, it doesn't work that way.
If you bloody hell, got a bloody advert. Go away, crypto nonsense. One of the things I was subscribed to is this one in the middle. It's called Classic Album Sunday. Right. Basically, they talk about albums and stuff, and they get people on, like she talked about Hunky Dory with Ken, what's his name, the guy who produced it. But the brilliant thing at the end, they say, right, we want you to go away and listen to the album. We want you to put the album on, listen to it in its entirety, on headphones in its entirety, turn the lights down, no disturbances, listen to it from beginning to end, all the way through. Which is fantastic advice, really, you know, really good.
Yeah, and that's the advice I give to any of my young guitar students that have never done that before. It's like, please find your favorite record and turn the lights down and listen to the whole thing with no interruptions, because it's a whole other way of experiencing music, you know?
Yeah. Ken Scott. Sorry, I forgot his blooming name.
I'll let you into a secret too, Simon H, because we got the rock professor. So,
by the way, you can call me Hoss, no problem. That's what everyone calls me.
Awesome. So Hoss, one of the great things too, and I'll let you into a secret with what we do here is, when we go through and do the album, it might seem obvious, but we actually go through and we talk about each song, which gives us focus and gives the show depth. And when we kind of sort of, you know, thought about doing that, we had a conversation about it, because Simon and I, we were just talking about albums. We were just talking about a band or a specific era of the Rolling Stones, for example. We were talking about the 72 tour, which is a great topic to talk about. But then you know, but we tried to sort of bring a bit of focus into it, and then we thought, well, okay, you know, let's pick an album. So we were talking about an album, and then realized actually there were some things that I wanted to say about Brown Sugar that I didn't say. So then we thought, okay, well, we'll go through and we'll talk about each song, not realizing actually that maybe people would be interested in that, but we just did it for ourselves because we wanted to make sure that we had the point that we were talking about or thinking about for 30 years or 20 years was articulated, and it works well. It's a great format.
I agree. It's awesome, and it's always fascinating, and it takes into account that more holistic way of listening to music and appreciating music, like we're talking about. Like you talk about a whole album. You're not just cherry picking songs and talking about them. It's about an experience, you know, and that's why I think it's so great.
Well, that's why you hear me banging on about the programming of it, and you know, this song follows this because this does this, and you can't have that, you know, just have 12 songs the same, because it would just, you know, by song 5 everyone would be bored, you know. So you've got to have, you know, the album we've just done is a very good example of that. You know, it's a CD album, not a vinyl album, but they've still programmed it in a particular way, so you introduce new things into it, you know, have an acoustic number here, and I'm interested in all of that because that's what I grew up on. My famous story is, you know, my parents live in, well, my dad's died, but my mum lives in Bristol in the UK, and she's got a big Georgian house, and on the top, I had a bedroom on the top floor which had a parapet. I used to lie on the parapet at night and listen to Dark Side of the Moon, look at the stars. No substances needed. You could just lie on the thing and look at the stars. But you know, and that's the whole of the record. You know, I had to get up, get in through the window, and change it over. But that's my favourite thing. But you know, so you listen to the whole album, you know, with eyes closed, and you know, that's my experience of it, which is you know, and you understand how it works.
That's perfect, Simon, and that's exactly what the same thing that I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm feeling. You know, is that like when I was young, my favorite thing to do was to turn out the lights completely and put my headphones on, and I would choose an album, something I was into at the time, and it didn't matter what it was, just something I was into. And I would listen to the whole thing. And because we didn't have YouTube and all of that stuff, you could use your imagination. So I would imagine if I was at that concert, what that was like, even though I was just listening to the record. But I'd imagine, like, if this was live, what would it look like? Like, how would it feel? Could I smell the smoke machines? Could I see the lights, you know? And that was always like a really great internal experience for me. And so that's pretty much when I listen to albums, I would always listen to them, visualizing what it would be like if it was a concert, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Very much like what you're saying about listening to Dark Side of the Moon under the stars. I mean, that's beautiful, because that's exactly that album is made to be listened to under the stars.
Well, that's a good point, because I remember when I found out that there was no rain on Live Rust, you know, I was devastated, you know, because I'd been listening to no rain, you know, and it was just, you know, something that it was edited onto the album. And, you know, for years, I would imagine, you know, these hippies there getting rained on, you know. But it was another concert. It was Woodstock that snippet came from. But, you know, I'm thinking it was, you know, a Neil Young concert, you know. But when you're 14 or 15 back then, we didn't have the internet to jump onto and say, oh, it's actually, this is cut from this, you know, and put onto that. But yeah, that's one of the things that we like. And also, we're not experts too, Simon. We're just organic fans. And this is a point that we always go to great lengths to say. We're just 4 cats hanging out, 5 cats hanging out, talking about music, giving our opinion. And if you don't agree with what we say, fine.
Yeah, well, you can tell we don't always agree. You'll notice.
I've seen you guys not always agree. And actually, that's what's endearing about listening to you chat about the music is it would obviously be way more boring if the 3 of you just agreed all the time, you know. But that's the thing, is music is subjective, and so it should be discussed and it should be disagreed upon sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing of an album flow for me always falls back to classic albums, and like I could never imagine just cherry picking 1 or 2 songs off Abbey Road, like from the Beatles. It has to be listened to from start to finish.
Yep,
it just has to be. So you know, pretty much, I'm the same as you guys. Like I used to listen to everything in the dark in my room, put an album on, just listen to it entirely. Just listen to the whole record. Sgt. Pepper's was one of the first times I ever did that, was to sit back and listen to the whole record.
Yep.
And it was an experience. And obviously every album, it made me smile when you said you used to go to Melbourne Metal Records, was it? Like to
there's a record store in the city called Metal from Melbourne.
That's right.
I saw in the John used to go there.
John mentioned it. Yeah.
Well, I used to go to a couple of record stores. I was in Sydney, and I used to catch a train into Sydney, go to Rare Records, or there was a metal store in there as well. And I used to, same thing in the train, read the liner notes from top to bottom, inside out, who they thanked, everything. I knew it all before I even got to listen to the first note. So, yeah, it's an experience.
Yeah, and that's like, I never want to be one of those people that think, it's not the same as it was when I was young, because the truth is that humanity moves on and technology moves on, and who knows how people will listen to music even in 30 years from now. But the thing that I just worry that maybe is missed as part of the experience is that more overall thing like we're talking about, where you're like looking at the liner notes and, things like who produced records. I mean, even kids that weren't producers and engineers would know those names back in the day, because they would read them on the back of their records and go, oh, okay, it's Mutt Lange Gang. I remember that name from the other record, or whoever, Yeah. Man, that I can tell you now that any of the younger, say, for example, like even my guitar students who we talk about music a lot, obviously, they couldn't tell you who produced what they're listening to, or who mixed it, or any of those details. But to me, that's part of it, because you're part of a music industry. It's about human connection, and all those parts of the machine behind the sound of the music are part of what makes that music. It's a bit like, if you want to bring it back to a Van Halen thing, like Don Landry and Ted Templeman, man, you take those two guys out of it, who knows how it would have sounded. So seeing those names on the back of each consecutive record that you would get was comforting, because it's like, oh, cool, those two guys again, And I didn't even really know what they did when I was a kid. I just knew that, it's those names,
Yeah,
that's funny. Absolutely,
yeah. It's true. It's so true.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting part is, Simon, is that in a sense, your students, guys, they've got access to so much information, and they just don't access it. Whereas, I'm 63, right? So in 1972, I'm 14. No, you cannot imagine 2-3 channels on the television, no internet. The world is black and white. And the only news you got was the weekly rock papers, the New Musical Express, Melody Maker, Sounds. So I used to buy the NME every week. And only then would you know that bands were on tour, or bands, and only then if bands recorded an album or released an album. You'd see the names of bands, and you would have no idea what they looked like. Or anything, just a little, you'd have a little review or something. No, you have no idea what they look like. Whereas now, and no idea who they were, and they could make up any, they could make up any kind of mystique of where they came from and what they did. And in Wikipedia, it would all be destroyed in 2 minutes, where they all came from. But it was just unbelievable. But so therefore, because we had so little information, every little extra bit of information was something. Becomes a little nugget to, as I described earlier, a little nugget to something that you can latch onto, like who produced something, who's the engineer, who did this, and you think, oh right, and all the names of the people. God, I used to remember the names. I used to work in a record shop when I was a kid. I couldn't remember the names of the album numbers. And all of that. It's like terrifying.
But also, don't you think, Simon, that because of that, because you would know who was coming through town, but you wouldn't necessarily have heard them already. You would just see it advertised. But if you were looking for a band to go in, a new band coming through town to see on a Friday or a Saturday night, you would just go anyway. And you would quite often, that's how you discovered your next new favorite band, is because you just went because there was a little blurb in the paper or something, and you went, all right, let's go down and check it out. And of course, sometimes you didn't like it, but sometimes you did, and it made you a new fan. Whereas now, it's like people will jump on YouTube or wherever else, and they'll see a snippet and hear a snippet on Spotify, and they'll be so quick to judge that they'd actually never go to the full 90-minute show and never let themselves the experience of over that 90 minutes, maybe the magic sort of hits them an hour in, and you go, oh, now I get these guys.
The other thing, Simon, is that in 1972 it cost, you could go and see a band for 50p.
Yes.
Like, you could, and if I say that an album in 1972 cost about £2.50, you could go and see them at my local municipal hall, the Colston Hall in Bristol. You could go and see them for 50p or 75p. I went to see Led Zeppelin in 1975 at Earl's Court, right? The most expensive ticket was £2.50.
Wow.
To go and see Led Zeppelin at Earl's Court in 1975, £2. They were like £1.50, £2 and £2.50. But to get the ticket, I had to sleep outside Virgin Records in Bristol all night. Me and my friend Tony Bainbridge. In fact, he lives in Melbourne now, which is weird. But so he and I slept out overnight to buy tickets in the local Virgin Records for Led Zeppelin at Earl's Court. All this, getting on Ticketmaster and not stuff. No,
I think
real analog.
I've been there. I've slept in lines to get tickets to concerts in the past.
Oh, yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
And I have to say I'm guilty of doing the same thing. Like I'd read a snippet out of a in Music Rag, drum or whatever the magazine would be, to go and look at a band, and I'd go check them out. And I also am guilty of picking up album covers, liking the look of it, and buying it without even hearing the band in the past.
Yeah, and there's also this other one too. Remember when you guys were at school, there was the cats that were really good at rugby or league or something like that, the real sports nuts, the jocks, as the Americans would call them. Then you had the bright sparks, the teachers' pets and all that. But I always wanted to know who were the cats that knew music. You were always looking for someone that knew a little bit about music, and it was generally because they had someone older in their family, an older brother or sister. So I remember getting a lot of information off a good guy that I used to go to school with, a guy called Garth Blomfield. He had two older sisters, and they were going out with guys who were rockers. So the information was being filtered through that way, through the old-fashioned way of conversation, face to face.
Guys,
loved it.
I'm sorry, I have to go. I have to go and pick up my daughter from her friends, and so that she can go to work.
Well,
Simon, it's great to meet you.
We'll all knock off together.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to start. It was like great fun, but I've just had a message. I was like, could you come and pick me up?
Coming back. Hoss is coming back anyway. So
fantastic.
I'll be back. Simon, it was really, really lovely to meet you officially and chat officially as face to face.
Fantastic. And we've got to discuss next week's album.
Usual story. It's going to be released on Instagram. So if you guys haven't checked out our Instagram accounts,
it was released 50 years ago this week. That's a clue.
Yeah. Wow. This week. All right.
Modern.
I think I can figure that out.
Yeah.
That's a clue. But if you guys haven't checked out our Instagram accounts, they're flying down there on the bottom. Hoss, if you can do me a favor, if you can text me your social media accounts so I can add them to our stream as well, and if I can put them on Nightbot because you're part of the family, if you can just do that for me, your website, your Instagram, and maybe your YouTube account. Brad's already given me the hard work to make sure that we get all that stuff sorted for you. We're about sharing here. We're about sharing our small community, and that's the least we can do. So if you want to give that to us, we'll get that done for you.
No problem. And don't worry about never a skip. What about always a pleasure? Because that's how I feel about chatting with you guys. So and obviously we'll chat over the next few days about some of these other ideas.
Sounds great.
You and Brad are doing well. So you guys keep cooking, keep doing what you're doing, and I look forward to it, especially the gig. Yeah, Brad's leaked a bit of the information out already, so look forward to it.
Absolutely, Andrew. Thank you, brother.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm not going to say anything more. I'm just going to give you guys each. I'm going to give Brad the last word, and then we're going to fire it off to you, Hoss, and then we're going to split. If that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank everyone in the chat for joining us. I'm not going to go through, but everyone knows who you are. Thank you so much for joining. If you're not already subscribed with us, please do so. Please subscribe. Help us grow. Share our channel on your socials. Let's get this little channel fired up. It deserves the followers, the subscribers, and we really appreciate it. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to give away a few t-shirts as well, like we did when we got to 500. So help us get there. We just want organic growth. Thank you, guys. And Simon, it's been a pleasure this weekend spending time with you, and all the phone calls have been, really, really good. And we could talk for hours. I know that. It's pretty scary, actually. And
yeah, it's always pretty scary when you find a bunch of kindred people where you go, oh no, they can talk as much as I can. And so I think, we're going to have some great chats. So thank you for having me on yesterday, and thanks for letting me drop in to say hi today. It was great to meet Simon officially. Yeah, it was really nice.
And
that was a nice gesture.
Welcome to the family too, mate, because like I said, once you're in, you can't ever leave. It's like,
that's right.
Andrew's got heavies, mate, and I've met them. They've come and knocked at my door, and that's why I'm still here.
Yeah, and you know what? There's no kind of heavies like New Zealand heavies. I know.
Oh,
so, I want to that part. But I'll hand it over. I'll hand it over to you, Hoss, to say good day to everyone and say goodbye to everyone.
Well, look, I just like to say thank you to everyone that joined in on the chat last night. I will say that I wasn't really reading the chat as we were doing the discussion. So if anyone was like sort of tagging me and asking me particular things that I didn't see, please feel free. Just hit me up on my social media and I'll answer any other questions. Like I know I saw out of my peripheral vision last night, guys, there was maybe a couple of questions about what other guitars I had and a few things like that. So if anyone really wants to know, it's no problem. Just Facebook message me or Insta message me. And for any of us that are not our vintage that might be watching this show, if I could leave with one thing, all I would say is pick your favorite album, turn the lights out, put the headphones on, and listen to that from the first song to the last song. Turn your phone off, no phone calls, no cups of tea. Just do that for 45 minutes.
Wonderful. I think we should leave it there, Andrew. That's perfect.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me on, Brad and Andrew.